Doesn't it make you feel like you're traveling to outer space when you're hearing that? Not this part. Happy Friday, everybody. Oh my gosh, I've been trying to blow my nose here. All right, there we go. Sorry if I'm sounding a little stuffy. I don't know, for some reason, the last 15 minutes, my nose decided it wanted to stuff up. Happy Friday, everybody. Good evening. Hope you all had a peaceful day today. What's up, Kib Kitty, SRB, Kelt? Yeah, I thought I put out a notification earlier, and then when I got on to start doing my prep, I noticed there wasn't one up there, and then I got some messages. I hope you're having a wonderful day. What's up, Punksy? Mama Bear? Oh, man. Sorry about your headaches. Grizz, what's up? Yeah, thank God it's Friday, right? Man. Ooh. What's up, Pam? How you doing, Pam? Oops, I thought I had it on the right one. All right. It was nice. Got to clean up some stuff last night. We'll just hang out tonight. We'll be going through stuff, but it'll be more of a hangout night. So if anybody wants to hop on, you're more than welcome. Anybody know of anything breaking today? I didn't really get to do my prep. I only went through a little bit, and I didn't see too much. I did see that there's more stuff about Ann Taylor. And then there's like a body cam of Pelosi's husband, a struggle or something. I don't know. Then there's Alex Murdaugh body cam, or not body cam, but some kind of interrogation video. Something like that. It's on Brian Enton's Twitter. But I only got to save a little bit. And we got into that. So yeah, I barely have any prep on there. So what I do want to do is I'm going to go hit up Brian Enton's Twitter. Oh, you're good, SRB. No, don't worry about that. It's all good. Let's see here. We are going to start the show with some Alex Murdaugh, whatever you want to pronounce it. There's a Brian Enton video, and then it's like a interrogation, but it's weird. It's like in a car or something. What's up, Willow? It's like in a car or something. I don't know. It just looked weird. So we'll be on Brian Enton's Twitter for a few. And let me zoom that up. Turn the music down. There's that. Let me turn this music down and we get into this video. I'm really interested to see this interrogation or whatever in this car. It looks like him and like 3 other LE in the vehicle or something. I don't know. It just looks very odd. Saw a body cam of Memphis and it was absolutely hard. These kind of... Really? I didn't even... I did have some videos on there. I'm sure there's something in the break. And I'm going to... While we're listening to these, I am going to kind of finish up my prep. And, let me follow them real quick. Court TV. Yeah, let's follow her. Yeah, while we listen to this, I am going to do
Murdoch
the prep here.
Murdoch breaking down in tears over and again, at one point even weeping. Sergeant Daniel Green, who was first on scene to the murders, took the stand. This is how Green described Murdoch when he arrived.
He did not appear to be crying. He was upset, but I did not see any visible tears.
But the tears flowed in court. Sergeant Green told the jury what Murdoch said when he first showed up.
His immediate reaction was to start telling me about an incident that had happened with his son with a boating accident.
With the boating accident?
Yes, sir.
Had you asked him anything about that?
I did not.
First responders went into disturbing detail about the condition of the victims, Maggie and Paul Murdoch.
He was laying down with, you can see there's substantial damage to his head with a lot of blood around his head and what appeared to be his brain down there around his ankles.
And this is how he found Paul.
That is correct.
The jury saw the shotgun found at the scene and graphic body camera video that showed the condition of the mother and son. The video is so disturbing, special accommodations were made so family members in the audience, like Alex Murdoch's son Buster, wouldn't have to see the video. The defense honing in on evidence the responding deputies may have missed, like tire tracks.
What did you do to preserve those?
The tire tracks? Nothing.
And you certainly are not an expert in tire tracks.
I'm not.
So you couldn't tell whether it was multiple vehicles or one vehicle?
No.
And it may have been multiple vehicles?
May have been.
And also footprints, the defense alleges, were not documented.
Did you take pictures of the tracks?
I did not take any pictures of the scene.
Instruct anyone to take pictures of the tracks?
No, sir, that's not my job.
When SLED arrived, did you tell them about the tracks?
No, sir, not my job.
And it was interesting the way they set up the courtroom when they were playing all of that graphic body camera video. They had some boxes and papers covering a TV, so only the jury could see the video. The people sitting in the audience and the family members could not see the video at all, but the jury could see the video. They didn't appear to show much emotion during those really graphic parts, but some of them actually did lean in to see things a little closer. Nicole? Hey everybody, I'm Brian Enton in Colleton County, South Carolina, where we have been covering the Alec Murdoch case. First day, full day of testimony, and it was emotional. They showed the graphic body camera video to the jury of when officers first responded to the scene when the murders happened. Alec Murdoch, accused of killing his wife and son, was sitting right there. He was visibly emotional throughout the entire day, crying throughout the entire day. And what was interesting is you could see the jurors looking over at him quite a bit, keeping an eye on his emotions as he continued to cry throughout the day. One of the people who testified was the first sergeant who arrived on the scene. And what was interesting, kind of compared to the way Alec Murdoch acted today in court, that sergeant said that when he first got there, that Alec Murdoch was not crying, that there were no tears that he noticed. And he said one of the first things that he talked about was his son's boat crash that he was involved in, and tried to say that, that somehow might have had something to do with the murders, which was very, very interesting. Also a big development, the body camera video that has not been released publicly when the officers first responded is now going to be released to the media. We're told that it will be redacted, but it will now be coming out for the first time. Keep you posted on what's happening here in South Carolina.
I left the house without my watch.
12:57.
All right, Mr. Murdoch, state your full name for me, please.
Richard Alexander.
What's up, everybody coming in? Thanks for hopping in. This is supposed to be the interrogation video.
Spell your last name so I get it correct.
Murdaughh.
All right. And you go by Alec?
Yes, sir.
Alec.
And date of birth, Mr. Murdoch?
May 27th, 1968.
And a good phone number for you.
803-942-1227.
All right, sir. And sir, what was your name?
Yeah, Danny Henderson.
Okay. All right. As I stated, I'm David Owen in Lower Rutland with Colleton County, and I'm with SLED. I hate to have to do this.
I understand.
Yeah.
I totally
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
So you don't have any problem
Yeah.
with it.
So, just start the top, take your time.
Like when I came back here,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I pulled up and I could see him, and you know, I knew something was bad. I ran out. I knew it was really bad. My boy over there, I could see it was.
Sorry.
And I could see his brain on his. And I ran over to Maggie, and actually, I think I tried to turn Paul over first. You know, I tried to turn him over, and I don't know, I figured it out. His cell phone popped out of his. I started to try to do something with it, thinking maybe, but now I put it back down really quickly. Then I went to my wife, and let me see.
Did you touch Maggie at all?
I did. I touched them both.
Okay.
I tried to take, I tried to do it as limited as possible, but I tried to take their pulse on both of them. And, you know, I called 911 pretty much right away, and she was very good. I talked to her. I told her I was going to get off the phone to call some family members. I did that.
What family members did you call?
I called my brother Randy, and I called my brother John. And I tried to call a little boy, real good friend that's right around the corner from here, but I didn't get him.
What all was around Paul when you walked up?
Blood.
Anything else?
I mean, there were some body things, yes, sir.
I mean, like any other evidence? I know you said the phone fell out the pocket, but did you see anything else that didn't belong or shouldn't belong or that wasn't part of Paul?
No, sir, no, sir.
How about Maggie?
No, sir.
You didn't see anything around them? What made you come out here tonight?
I went to, my mom's a late stage Alzheimer's patient. My dad's in the hospital. My mom gets anxious when she does. I went to check on them and Maggie. Maggie's a dog lover. And she fools with the dogs. And I knew she'd gone to the kennel. I was at the house. I left the house and went to my mom's for just a little while. Tried to call her when I left. Texted her, no response. When I got back to the house was obviously nobody was in there. So I figured they're still up here fooling around. Paul was gonna be getting set up to plant. Our sunflower seeds got sprayed and died, and he was refiguring to plant the sunflower seeds. So I came back up here and I drove up and saw and called.
Had Maggie and Paul been arguing over anything?
No.
What was their relationship like?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. How about yours and Maggie's?
Wonderful. I mean, I'm sure we had little things here and there, but we had a wonderful marriage, wonderful relationship.
And yours and Paul's relationship?
As good as it could be.
How old was Paul?
As
22.
good as it could be. What
You know
does
his
that
date of
mean?
birth?
I do. April 11th, 96 is his brother's. April 14th, 99 is Paul's.
It's 6/8/221 or 2021. June 8th, or I think it's June 8th. So that was part 1 of 5. Here's the next one.
What's Maggie's full name?
Margaret
Snorter.
Brandstetter Murdoch.
And her date of birth, sir?
September 15th, 1968.
Have y'all been having any problems out here? Trespassers,
None
people
that,
breaking in?
none that I know of. The only thing that what comes to my mind is my son Paul was in a boat wreck a couple years ago, and there's been he was charged with being arrested for being the driver. There's been a lot of negative publicity about that, and there's been a lot of people online just really vile stuff. But when Paul's out and about, I mean, people routinely, I don't think I know the full story, because I don't think they give it to me, but I mean, he's been punched and hit and just attacked a lot. So, but I mean, nothing like this.
Yeah. Any one person in particular or group of people
I don't know.
that you could think of?
Not that I know, no, sir.
Has he, other than being assaulted, has he received any direct threats related to the boat accident?
Oh, yes. All the time he gets
recently?
threats. Yes, sir. I mean, he gets them all the time.
Okay.
He gets them all the time.
What kind of, I mean,
I'm gonna kick your ass, I've never been privy firsthand,
Is that through social media or?
No, ma'am. It's mostly like if he goes out places is what he goes out like somewhere. He's in college, so if he goes out is what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I can find out better details from some of his younger friends on that.
Who's his best friend?
His best friend in Colombia is Will's Chapman, Will Loving. Bobby Boyle. In Columbia.
You said Will Chapman and
L. Love. Around here, his best.
Tootin.
Gibson.
Have you talked with any of these guys tonight?
Talked with Nolan.
Here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I tried to call Rogan, was one of the people that, he's the boy that I told you lives
Okay,
around the corner.
okay.
That's very, you know, he's just a good, helpful young man. You mind if I open the door really quickly?
Go right ahead. Do what you need to do. So is there anybody that you can think of that we need to talk to tonight? Is there a name that comes to mind?
I mean, I can't tell you anybody that I'm overly suspicious of off the top of my head.
Okay.
You know? I mean, this is such a stupid thing. I'm even embarrassed to say it. But it just didn't make any sense. I just hired a guy out here, and he wasn't cutting the mustard, but I hadn't told him this yet. Paul's been working with him a lot. He killed the sunflower seeds in our dove field just recently, which is why Paul was here doing this. He told Paul a story the other day about how when he was in high school, he got in a fight with some black guys. And the FBI undercover team observed him fighting those guys and put him on an undercover team with 3 Navy SEALs. And that their job was to kill radical Black Panthers. And they did that from Myrtle Beach to Savannah. Now, I really don't think this guy, you know, is probably the person, but that's just so freaking.
Yeah, that's kind of far-fetched
It's
story.
weird. But off today.
Okay.
He took his daddy to the doctor.
What's his name?
CB Rowe.
ROWE?
Yeah, and I sent him a message to text me earlier today about the sunflowers, and he called me back when I was on the way to my mom's house.
Did you talk to him at that time?
Briefly, I was on the phone with a lawyer friend of mine named Chris Wilson from Bamberg, so I told him I'd call him back tomorrow, see him in the morning.
When you briefly talked to Mr. Rowe, what was his demeanor or attitude? Or
I mean, it seemed normal. I mean, I asked him about the sunflowers, and so, you know, I mean, it should be a little bit.
Where does he live?
I don't exactly know. Somewhere in in Bronson.
Okay. Do you have his phone number?
I do.
You got it.
I do. You know, but I do think him and Paul got along pretty well. That's just really, really weird. All right. CB. Here, I know he called me, so I'll go to that. Okay.
843-540-9335.
You need to get that phone on the charge, Alec, if you can.
Is that an iPhone?
Yes, sir.
Watch your leg for a second, please.
Thank you.
When did he tell that story to Paul?
Sometime last week.
Okay.
Sometime last week. My son Paul actually, and I really do not think, on all honesty, that it's him, but I know y'all got to check it out. But Paul was so taken aback by it that he sent, I'll find it, I got it on my phone. He recorded him saying bits and pieces of it.
Okay.
No. But for all his weirdness, I mean, I do think they got along pretty good.
How long had he been working here?
I guess about 3 or 4 pay periods, so 8 weeks, a couple months.
Okay. Going back to the boat incident, anybody on that boat really have a hard-on for Paul that you would think would come after him, or know of any direct threats from people on the boat?
I don't know of any direct threats between any of the people on the boat specifically, but I do think there's been a small amount of yip-yap between a couple of them, but not recently.
Okay.
Most of this was stuff from people that Paul didn't really know.
Okay.
It was some people that he knew distantly, but more times than not, when I learned about it, it was somebody that he didn't know.
Okay.
It's like, for example, he went out in Charleston a couple months ago, came back, he got a black eye, and, he can't defend himself right now because he has these charges. So, Paul's a real tough man's man.
Mm-hmm. He would defend himself, but he hadn't been.
That's right. But
how was he handling that case? Running over everybody.
As far as what?
How was he handling it?
I've been prouder of him than the way he has handled the pressures and the adversity in that situation. I think I've told Danny that before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Paul is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful kid. He can do almost anything. He gets along with almost anybody.
Do y'all store any weapons out here?
We don't store them, but they're frequently out here.
Mm-hmm.
I need to find out if there were any out here, because I know there was a shotgun. There was a 12-gauge shotgun out here. I'll have to find out exactly when that was. I think it got put up, but I'm not positive.
What did that shotgun look like?
It was a camouflage. I want to say it was a Benelli or maybe a Beretta. I can't remember which brand it is. But I don't think it was out here.
Okay.
Recently. But I'm not positive.
And the shotgun that you had when deputies pulled up, where did that come from?
I went to the house and I got a gun. Probably overreacting, but.
And was that when you pulled up and saw them?
No, I came out and mean, I called 911 first,
Mm-hmm.
talked to them for a little while, and then I told her
You told her.
that I was going to go to the house,
Okay.
and that I would let authorities know when they got here that I had a gun.
Okay. Do you happen to have a list of all your guns?
I can make one. I don't have one, but
Yeah.
I can make one.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, so we could compare if that shotgun was out here and now it's missing.
Absolutely.
Try to figure that out.
No, absolutely.
And I know living out here in the country, you probably have more than one or two.
We do. We probably have 20, 25 guns,
Yeah. Shotguns, rifles.
pistols.
Any rifles?
Yes, sir.
What kind of rifles?
All kinds.
Yeah.
All kinds. I mean, you name it across the board, we have them.
Okay.
And I mean, all of them we have are, in a hunting room in our house.
What was their schedule today? When did they get home?
My son works for my brother, and he was coming home to deal with the sunflowers. He got here. He got here pretty early because he and I rode around looking at everything for a good little while, probably 45 minutes to an hour. Maggie had things she did in Charleston, and she had a doctor's appointment in Charleston, and she got back here. It was fairly late.
Was it dark yet when Paul got home?
No, Paul got home early.
Early, okay. So before dinner time?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Lunchtime? Or?
No, ma'am.
What brother does Paul work for?
John Marvin.
And what does Paul do for him?
Everything.
Just handyman?
Yes, sir.
Was it unusual for Maggie to feed the dogs this time of night or check on them?
Oh, no. I mean, she played with those dogs all the time. And it's especially common for her to, she's been gone for a while, to come and let especially two of them out to run.
Okay, so she pretty regularly comes out here in the evenings?
Very regularly.
Okay.
Comes out here a lot.
Do you have any cameras on your property?
I have deer cameras, but none, around up here.
That's odd.
Where are they at?
On different deer stands.
Oh, okay, so deep in the woods.
Well, not necessarily deep in the woods. Some of them are in fields, and
Okay.
but there's none that are near here.
Okay.
What doctor's appointment? What doctor did Maggie see today?
I forget the guy's name. Maggie's been having trouble with her. She's been having trouble with her stomach and her tooth. I'm not positive. It was sort of a routine visit, and I can't remember. She told me the name of it, and I want to say Gordine.
Okay.
Is who I think she saw.
So was she back home around supper time? Or 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock?
I don't think she got back quite that early. I think she got back a little bit later than that.
Okay. What did you do today? Were you at the office or?
Nope, I was home. I came home. Paul and I messed around. I was up at the house. laid down, took a nap on the couch, probably, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes. I got up, I called Maggie, didn't get an answer, and I left to go to my mom's. She had said she might ride with me, but she normally doesn't when I go over there. And I think I texted her. And she's very good about answering the phone, so that was odd, or calling me back. So that was odd, but it wasn't that big a deal.
Now, what time was that?
What time was what?
That you sent her a text message.
All right. I texted her at 9:08, going to check on M, be right back. And then I texted her at 9:47. That must be when I started to come back. I think I called her before that, but let me make sure. Pretty sure that I called her 9:45. And then I tried Paul. And then, no, I think that was riding. I think that might have been riding over there. $10:03. I mean, my calls are right here.
Yeah.
So, obviously this is when I, at 10:06,
Yes, sir.
Thank you. There you go.
Anybody else want some gum?
You don't have any water, do you, Danny? That's all right. I don't need it.
If you, behind Danny's head is a case of water.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I got some right here.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
I'm sure we're going to have much more questions.
I'm available at, you let me know.
Weird frickin' video. Okay, this is the last one.
What?
This is weird.
What's another number in case I can't get you on your cell?
I don't have a house phone.
Okay.
An office number. I can give you brother's phones.
All right. What's Randy's?
Okay, Randy's is 803-943-8881.
And John's?
Marvin's is 843-21-5508.
And you said your dad's in the hospital? Hospital, Charleston or
Savannah, Cameron, St. Joseph's.
Is he doing okay, or what's?
He's having a really, really hard time. He's got a lot going on. He's doing okay given everything, but he's got a lot going on.
About Maggie's family, where are they?
Somerville.
Have you been in touch with them tonight?
Contacted, yes. I had my brother call Bart, the wife of his sister, and the husband of Maggie's sister, so that they could go and tell Maggie's parents. I felt like they needed to hear it in person.
Mm-hmm.
And they are going there and calling me. So they must not be there yet.
Maggie's parents in Somerville?
Yes. And her mom just had a knee replacement surgery, and her dad really has trouble getting around nowadays.
Mm. Do you have any other children?
I do. I have a 24-year-old.
That's right, you said. What's his name?
Buster. Well, Richard Alexander Jr.
Okay. He goes by Buster.
He goes by Buster.
Is he here tonight?
He's on his way.
Okay. Laura, you got anything?
This one's hard, but when you first saw Paul, you said you tried to flip him over. Was he laying on his back or on his stomach?
Just like he is.
Just like he is. So you weren't able to move him. Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And did he help Maggie a lot out here with the animals?
He helped everybody with everything.
Okay, so it was kind of routine for him to be out here as well in the evening?
This place is his absolute passion.
Okay.
I tried to turn him, and then I checked him, and I think I already knew, but I checked him.
And when you first pulled into the property, did you come from this direction where all our police cars are, or which way did you come in?
I went to the house.
Okay.
And then I came from the house
This way.
straight here. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Where my vehicle was parked is probably
is where it was. Okay.
Well, no, maybe not exactly, but it was pretty close because I came back the same route.
That's right, because you went back to get your shotgun.
When I came back.
All right. I can't think of anything else right now, but we'll certainly be in touch.
Thank y'all for everything y'all are doing.
Yes, sir. So, just to kind of let you know what's going to go on, we're going to be out here for quite some time. The coroner will take custody of Paul and Maggie.
Can I answer that? Yeah. What? No, we're finished. Let me come out. Well, I'll be here when he gets here. No, don't let him come up here.
I'm telling you, Mama Bear, everybody loves this space age
I
beat.
think we're about done. All right, thank you. I'm sorry.
Buster, in here. Okay.
Yes, sir. I dropped my card.
We'll get you one.
Sorry.
I'll get you one.
Here you go.
Thank you.
So the coroner will come over and talk to you. They'll do the autopsy and everything, and then go from there.
Thank you.
But we'll come see you before we leave.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Rutland.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
That was a weird exit.
Here, you want this water?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you.
Yep.
That's a weird exit. Huh.
You let.
Oh, this is let's see here. News Nation now. So this must be that body cam you're talking about, Kid Kitty. Memphis, Tennessee FedEx driver. What?
Do they have?
Oh, sorry. I thought it switched to this here. 1 second. Why is it not rewinding?
If you run from the police, at what point do they have the right to chase you and to subdue you and to handcuff you? And at what point do those rights stop and the ability to charge the officers themselves with kidnapping and assault begin?
Well, the standard typically, Leland, is
No, this
that
is in
you
Memphis,
are able to use
I
the
guess,
amount
SRV.
of force that is necessary to meet the force that is resisting the
Okay,
arrest.
I'm just going to, Chief, I'm going to interrupt in 1 second. The new tape that we have up, we believe, is the tape that will eventually show the beating itself. This is from some of the cameras. And Dr. Warren, maybe you can just help us educate us.
What you're
in
looking at
real time.
begins with the, if you're looking at what begins with a sort of view of a street.
Yeah, that's what we've
it
got
looks
now.
like it's blank and there's nothing on it. What will happen is it will play for maybe a minute or so, and then the camera will begin to turn. It's a motion sensor camera. It's
Yeah,
one
no,
of the-
we're watching from that high shot. We're watching the officers and Tyree struggle on the ground.
This is the beginning of the beating.
Yeah, and so what? Over the next few minutes, the beating will begin. Chief, back to you. At what point are you allowed to use force? And then once he's in handcuffs, the force has to stop. Correct?
Once you're in handcuffs, it's proverbially a game over. And that is the point of demarcation. And I'll be very interested as this video goes on to see at what point he's handcuffed. And if the beating continues, that would be a very egregious, and it would definitely lead to a lot of the public remarks that we've heard from Chief Davis and others that have viewed the video. So I would be very interested to see at what point Mr. Nichols is cuffed.
Dr. Warren, as you've watched this with law enforcement themselves, what was their commentary and narration of what they found? The line from maybe a questionable, non-questionable traffic stop and a chase, which happens every day, hundreds of times a day, to the point that this was such a cruel and senseless beating?
You know, I didn't really see this with any police officers. This was shown to us by the city attorney with the fellow council members.
Okay.
And Leland, if I could interject very quickly, for the charges to go to kidnapping, that lends a lot of credence to the fact that they have some visual evidence that the pretext for the stop was illegal. Because otherwise, the kidnapping charge, I think that's very telling as to what the prosecution and the police have uncovered in their belief of what they can prove in a court of law to bring that type of charge.
Dr.
What?
Warren, help us just understand the Memphis Police Department. These were members, we understand, of something called the Scorpion Unit.
That's this intervention plan that we talked about that's designed to lower the murder rate by stopping people from killing each other. It's about 80% social work and about 20% very specific police work that are working in units trying to identify people who have killed people or maybe the next people to shoot, and also identify people who may be the next people to be shot and provide services and to try to stop it. We actually have lowered our murder rate by about 12% after the first year of this being initiated.
Wow. Chief, just to you, you mentioned that it was unusual to have officers that were this junior on such a group of people. Is that because of sort of the autonomy that they are allowed to operate in order to do the very valuable and needed things as Dr. Warren laid out?
Absolutely. And if you do have inexperienced officers, I think it's very important because what people are going to look at, or what professionals will look at, is the supervisor to officer ratio. And given the mandate, I would believe that a unit like that would have to intervene in high level drug cases, probably with an expectation that very dangerous weapons are involved, stolen vehicles. You would want very experienced officers that understood the levels of or the rules of engagement. Younger officers without as much experience, Leland, they may go overboard. And quite frankly, this is what we're witnessing. So I would be very interested to know how the officers were selected, what their history was relative to discipline or use of force, because those things could be very telling as to if they should even be in a unit with that high level of scrutiny and expectation.
Dang. What the hell? And this kidnapping charge, what is that? What is that? All right, let me get back to chat here. I was just kind of getting into that body or whatever interrogation video or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. That was a weird video. Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, if they have if there's like news videos or any kind of videos that discuss it without playing the frickin' video, send them to me if you have. Yeah, I heard a kidnapping. I don't know. I was kind of confused, honestly. Yeah, I don't either, SRB. I am right there with you. I'd have to look at. There is videos, but they all have to do with the body cam. So, and we watched that, and I just don't want to display that anymore. Definitely talk about it, but.
Madalina Kojikari gaining extra firepower, and it's not from police. It has now been 67 days since the 11-year-old was last seen getting off her school bus. And you remember the search for her officially didn't start, though, until 3 weeks after that video, because authorities say her mother did not immediately report her missing.
And because of that, police arrested both mother and stepfather and charged them for failing to report a missing child. They remain in custody tonight. The case has gotten a lot of attention online in true crime communities, many trying to find out what happened to Madalina. WCNC Charlotte's Chloe Leshner spoke to a woman who's trying to crack the case herself.
Updates from the Cornelius Police Department have been few and far between. Most of what we've learned in this case has been through the court system, but there is an online community working to learn more about what happened to Madalina. There are far more questions than answers about what happened to Madalina Kojikari after she stepped off of the school bus on November 21st. It's the last time she was seen publicly. Her mother, Diana Kojikari, and stepfather, Christopher Palmater, were both arrested for taking 3 weeks to report Madalina missing. In the weeks since the investigation started, so-called web sleuths are trying to find some of those answers.
We want to be a voice for them. They don't have a voice. They can't speak out. So we have to have people that are willing to, take that stand. And
Michelle Sutton says she's always had a passion for true crime. She researches missing child cases and shares the facts on her YouTube channel. She's also part of a Facebook page dedicated to finding Madalina.
If we can find that one tip that may say, hey, you need to question them about this, and they go in and that's the one that breaks them, then that's, I don't see the problem.
Officials with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children say most attention on the case can help. They say online forums can cause rumors and theories to spread, but the flyers, billboards, and online posts Madalina's picture and story could elicit tips.
Don't let that information slip by. If the community feels it's important, then report it.
Sutton says their group's main goal is to help find and bring justice for Madalena.
But we still need to keep their faces and their story out if they've not been found. And right now, Madalena still has not been found. She's still out there somewhere. And we're still hoping that we find her and bring her home.
Madalena's mother and stepfather will be back in court on March 2nd. In the studio, Chloe Leshner, WCNC Charlotte.
Oh. That's crazy. There's still nothing, Like Ashley Bush. What happened? It's been how many days? What are you even talking about, Detective Juan? Workers and spontaneously organized. Like what workers? Like the police force? I'm confused. We got another video about, is it Tyree Nichols here? Let me see. This is News Nation. Just came out about 20 minutes ago.
So this is the video that ends in the...
Whoa! Video is unavailable. What? What the hell? That's odd. All right, give me 1 second. That's odd. All right, let me see here. Let's see, body cam. That was, we did hear this over when Kip Kitty was doing the audio over the stream. We did hear this, but I would like to play this because she has a really good message about all these people getting hate because they're allowing Zaina's mom to talk. I thought it was a really good message, and I think it needs to be said again, especially with the video. Son of a bitch. It didn't even... 1 second.
I want to mention something that a lot of people on social media have been talking about. And I'm going to get personal here, so just bear with me, if you will. There were a lot of people who were very upset that we ran this interview. And some of the comments that I read upset me because I look at Karen Northington as a woman who has admitted that she has struggled with addiction mightily. She admitted on television that she was in rehab and needed help from her attorney to get there. Her struggles are real. And the fact that she lost her daughter to a ghastly crime is real. And she is a victim in all of this. And she deserves a say. She deserves a say from the very get-go because she's victimized of a murder victim. And I do not care where she spends her evenings or whether she's been in jail or whether she needed a public defender. She has a voice. She deserves to speak. And when this happened with her attorney, she 100%
Good evening, Cassie.
gets to speak. She has a dog in this fight.
Yes, they did, SRB.
Because her attorney is representing her daughter's accused killer. Let it sink in. She has a right to speak.
I don't know.
She has a case. And I think that's explaining to do. And to that end, we called Ann Taylor's office. Understandably, she can't get back to me. There's a gag order in this case, so she can't respond. But at some point, she's going to have to respond. And for anyone out there who thinks this is somehow sinking the case against Brian Kohberger, let me be honest with you. A conflict of interest for a death penalty case can overturn a case. So if you're worried about this, you should be. You should be worried that an attorney who is not fit to serve as an attorney because of a conflict should not be in a death penalty case. lest the state of Idaho wants to spend a whole bunch more money and a whole bunch more emotion to have to retry this case again. And I am pretty sure nobody wants that. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation.
It is ridiculous, especially the stuff that Chronicles of Olivia is getting. That's a bunch of bullshit. I thought she did a respectful job. We listened to it last night. I thought she did a respectful job. I don't understand what the deal was. Let me see here. So it says this case is reopened after the Murdaugh murders. This is one of those cases that when we went through on Monday night, Alex Murdaugh stuff for the whole evening, this was one of those cases that was linked to his name. It was one of the 5. And so they reopened it. I did not know that. Hatch, little one, hatch. Six days. Oh my gosh, not even a week.
Mike, and
it's
ask
crazy how
if
quick it went, huh?
Stephen's family is watching this
Not
process.
even a week.
If you've had opportunities to speak with the Murdaughs, or if there's been a real wall between you in the process of this investigation of Stephen's death.
You know something? You know what, Cassie? It'll be the podcast family's first baby.
I have not talked to the Murdaughs or anybody connected to the Murdaughs. So the last time, honestly, the last time I talked to Alex Murdaugh is after the boat crash. I ran into him, and I've known him for years. I've known his family for years. I knew his father and mother. When I was a prosecutor, we moved in the same circles. But I've not talked to them since I've gotten involved with the Smith investigation. And the family is, of course, watching. They're watching like the rest of that community. I mean, one of the things that we've gotten from this saga is that this entire section of South Carolina was under, I would call it a cloud of oppression, and that is being lifted through all of this. There is justice happening, there is light being shown. That whole community is watching this trial with bated breath to see what's going to happen. And we're early in it. I mean, we're very early in it. I've heard estimates of 2 to 3 weeks. I would agree with that based upon the number of witnesses. So I think there's going to be a lot of twists and turns, and that community is watching closely, and the Smiths are part of that community. And
please give our thoughts to the Smiths, to Stephen's family. I know this has got to be brutal for them as they continue to wait for their justice for the death of their son. And also, Robin Dreek, thank you for being with us. Thank you both for being with me tonight on this.
I don't know though, if they weren't really able to do anything before, and everybody down there doesn't want to say nothing. Hell, you saw how they were having issues with jurors and stuff. What does Murdaugh's behavior tell investigators? I always love Banfield videos. She's so awesome. Yes, the podcast family's first baby.
I want to bring in 2 people right now who can tell me
So
a lot
excited. 6
about what
days.
body language tells you about a defendant. Robin Dreek is a retired FBI special agent and chief of the counterintelligence behavioral analysis program. And Mike
The what?
Hemlett Jr. is an attorney for the
Wait.
family of Stephen Smith. Stephen was found dead in the middle of the road in 2015. And the investigation has reopened into his case because of what's happened in the Murdaugh
That's
case as
weird.
well. And there are a lot of suspicions that perhaps the Murdaughs may have been involved in that case. All right, I will get to that case in a moment. But first,
21 hours,
Robin,
okay.
just your overall take on what you saw in court today. The Murdaugh that was at the defense table and the Murdaugh that we're hearing on the audio tape, especially the time when he says, "Hi, how you doing?" to an officer.
Yeah, Ashley, you brought up a really good point a few minutes ago, and that was he seems to have a lot of faces, and that's what I'm seeing. He's got generational practice of being in different roles, and I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the lawyer role, we're seeing the father role. We're seeing the problem solver role. What's interesting is there seems to be incongruence between the behavior he had at the scene and the behavior he's having in the courtroom. One thing about veracity that people
So
are looking
cool.
for with trustworthiness and truthfulness is a continuity of behavior. So if you're in the courtroom and you're reliving the experience that you had in that moment, it should be congruent with that same experience. And so if he had a lack of emotion because he's in problem solving mode in the moment, like he was on the crime scene, it sounded like, it should be congruent in the courtroom and vice versa. But we're seeing incongruence between the two. I find that pretty fascinating.
So, Mike, I know that you don't come from the behavioral analysis side of things, but you're an attorney and you're close to this. You've got the, the Smith case.
Babies and
obviously
butterflies.
There's probably not a lot of love lost at this point with the Murdochs. I'd love to get your top line on what you have been seeing in
my
court
hands
and
are
then
so
hearing
fucking
about
dry. They're
back
like
in that
cracking
community.
and bleeding.
Thank you. Stephen's murder has not yet been officially solved. It's still an open investigation with the state law enforcement division, and we've been so pleased with the work that they've been doing. And we're very optimistic that they're going to get to a result.
That's a nice office.
The murder trial that's going on right now has virtually no connection to that investigation that we know of right now. But I've tried lots of murder cases. And of course, like you, I've been in the courtroom during lots of murder cases. And we are very early into this one. In talking about his body language and the way that he's acting, I'm not an expert, but neither is the jury. And the members of the jury are the only opinions that matter. Your viewers and other people who are paying attention to this will have as many opinions as there are observations, but it is the 12 members of the jury who ultimately decide this case whose opinions really matter.
And it's amazing what they say after they render a verdict. Some of the things that we would never imagine lodge into their brains is first and foremost for all of them. They have a whole different view. They have a whole different vantage point. The whole presentation is for them, not for us. So it usually comes off a lot differently for us. So, Robin, I do want to ask you one thing. I don't even know if I should ask it, but I have to because I couldn't stop seeing it. And that was that Buster, who is seated behind his father, who lost his brother and his mother, and now may see his father put away for life. I expected to see a lot more emotion out of Buster on those terrible tapes and those descriptions, all those awful things that were happening in court, but I didn't. And I know that the jury sees him too. Is there any effect that the emotions of the son sitting behind his father might have on his father's guilt or innocence?
It's a rough one to tell because you don't know what's going through a young man's mind that's facing so much trauma and grief in this moment, of potential grief. I did find it striking, his behavior.
Lost his family.
And it actually reminded me of what we're seeing in the father as well. We're seeing a generational problem solver. He's a defense attorney, prosecutor. I mean, he's done all these things, and he learned it from his parents and his grandparents. And I think the son's probably learning the same thing: work the problem, and learn how to put aside your emotions. Sometimes, maybe that's what's going through his mind, or maybe it's an emotional disconnect too. We just don't know that, but it was striking, no doubt.
I do want to mention the video that we're seeing right now. Some people thought that it was him smirking. Others thought it was him grimacing because he was moving around. He's sitting on a hard bench all day, 2 days in a row now. It could have been either. I was just sort of taken by the fact that he wasn't just emotionally crushed by the descriptions of his mom and his brother, but his father was just apoplectic. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
Was that a smirk or a grin or an uncut? It is odd. So this is a video, Elliot Blair. This is a case that we mentioned a couple times this week. Yeah, it looks like a smirk to me too. Like, especially after, because like before and then the facial movement, And then when you look at him coming back up, it looks like not a uncomfort, like your eyebrows, or and your forehead are kind of scrunched a little bit. I didn't see that, so it kind of looked like it was a smirk to me as well. This is that Elliot Blair case that we mentioned a couple times earlier this week. There's a vigil. I'm not sure if there's any updates on it. This is the only other video that I've came across about it.
And Mike and Cher, hundreds of people packed into the town circle behind me here in Orange to remember a man who they say just loved to laugh and smile and help out others. Now his family says that they have proof that he did not fall to his death from his hotel room balcony, but instead was killed.
Whoa.
I miss his face. I miss his comedy.
And they have proof?
I miss that we had this special connection. We just felt like kindred souls.
The death of Orange County Public Defender Elliot Blair has been a crushing blow to so many. Hundreds of his family members, friends, and fellow lawyers in Orange County held a candlelight vigil to honor him.
It's a hole that doesn't feel like it can ever be
They have
filled again.
proof?
Elliot was just the most amazing young man. He touched so many lives.
33-year-old Elliot died suddenly on January 14th while on vacation at a Mexico resort with his wife, Kim Williams. The two public defenders from Orange were in Rosarito celebrating their one-year anniversary. Controversy has surrounded Elliot's death since the morning his body was found.
Kim was told at the scene that he was the victim of a gunshot.
Then Mexican authorities released a statement calling his death an unfortunate accident, claiming he was drunk and fell from a third-story balcony at the Hotel Las Rocas. But his family says that's not the case.
And we have the evidence and we've talked to the witnesses, and he wasn't drunk.
Whoa.
The fall wasn't the cause of his death.
They don't believe he was shot either.
It is inconsistent with the gunshot, but it is consistent with what we believed we would find. We don't know the exact location of where the killing occurred.
What?
We believe that the killing occurred somewhere else from where he was found.
Out of fear of risking their investigation, they don't want to reveal too much. They're still trying to get Elliot's body back from Mexico. They hope to get it back on Monday and perform their own autopsy and testing.
At this point, we have a lot of information, a lot of questions answered. We can't share all of that now.
Meantime, Elliot will be remembered as a kind and caring person who always helped others and for his great sense of humor.
I need to listen to that again. And then I think I might go to that first video we watched earlier this week, because I think that talks about what the wife recounts what took place, and I want to hear what she said again. Hold on a minute.
From Orange were in
Especially with
Rosarito
what this
celebrating
lawyer
their
said.
one-year anniversary. Controversy has surrounded Elliot's death since the morning his body was found.
Kim was told at the scene that he was the victim of a gunshot.
Then Mexican authorities released a statement calling his death an unfortunate accident, claiming he was drunk and fell from a third-story balcony at the Hotel Las Rocas. But his family says that's not the case.
And we have the evidence and we've talked to the witnesses, and he wasn't drunk. The fall wasn't the cause of his death.
They don't believe he was shot either.
It is inconsistent with the gunshot, but it is consistent with what we believed we would find. We don't know the exact location.
It's not consistent with a gunshot, but consistent with what they thought they would find.
Location of where the killing occurred. We don't know the exact location of where the killing occurred, but the fall wasn't the cause of his death.
They don't believe he was shot either.
It is inconsistent with the gunshot, but it is consistent with what we believed we would find. We don't know the exact location of where the killing occurred. We believe that the killing occurred somewhere else from where he was found.
Out of fear of risking their investigation, they don't want to reveal too much. They're still trying to get Elliot's body back from Mexico. They hope to get it back on
They still don't have it.
Monday and perform their own autopsy and testing.
At this point, we have a lot of information, a lot of questions answered. We can't share all of that now.
Meantime, Elliot will be remembered as a kind and caring person who always helped others and for his great sense of humor. And the family's attorney says that Elliot's wife was asleep at the time in the couple's hotel room and was reportedly awoken by hotel staff and told that her husband was dead. Now, the attorney says that he hopes to have more information to reveal next week about what they believe is the true cause of Elliot's death. For now, reporting live here in Now, the attorney says that he hopes to have more information to reveal next week about what they believe is the true cause of Elliot's death. For now, reporting live here in Orange, Mary Beth McDade. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
So they're going to do their own autopsy and then give us some more information.
And Mike and Cher, hundreds of people packed into
Oh,
the
my Lord.
town circle behind me here in Orange to remember a man who they say just loved to laugh and
So that'll be interesting. Wow. Now that's a turn of events there. Like, it was not a fall. It was not consistent with a gunshot, but consistent with what they thought they would find, and they have proof. Whoa. Case Barnett. So the wife says that she was sleeping, and he believes that the unalive took place in another location from where the body was found. So I don't even know what to think of that. I don't know, you know. I don't know what to think of that. That's a good video. Let's see, 911. Yeah, I don't understand that whole thing. Do you guys think that stuff was staged? The whole Pelosi thing? Right, and like, what? She didn't say, like, I didn't even know that they weren't even in the room together. I thought they were in the room together. Like, why didn't... Hold on, let me find that other video. I don't know, it's just very odd. Like, why wouldn't she say, well, he went to the gas station to go get some Mountain Dew or something? Like, I don't know. I gotta listen to that first video again. I gotta find it here. There it is. I don't know. Like, she didn't say... I don't know. Let's listen to this again. I think it has what the wife statement is.
This morning, shocking new details from the family of Elliot Blair, found dead while vacationing in Baja California, Mexico. Blair, a prominent American public defender from California, and his wife, Kim, were celebrating their one-year anniversary at the Las Rocas Resort and Spa when the Blair family's lawyer says she was awoken by resort staff in her room.
The main investigating officer walks over from Ellie's body, looks at Kim, and tells Kim through the interpreter that there's a bullet hole in Elliot's head.
This bombshell claim adding to a series of conflicting reports between the Blair family and the Mexican officials. Mexican authorities say the 33-year-old fell from the third-floor balcony of this hotel room, calling it an unfortunate accident. He doesn't believe the Mexican investigation, suspecting foul play, insisting he was the victim of a brutal crime. This is ABC News has just obtained the 911 calls of that night. At 12:50 a.m., the resort calls to report, quote, a person who apparently suffered a fall, finding him lying and has blood, suggesting it was a possible fall from a balcony. 20 minutes later, the paramedics arrive on the scene, saying Blair had no vital signs. 5 minutes after that, reporting there were no signs of violence.
En un primer momento, el día 14
The Attorney General of Baja California State, in his report, stating that the amount of alcohol found in Blair's body was considerable. His family now hiring a private investigator and are desperate to bring his body home so they can conduct their own autopsy.
At this point, the facts continue to not fit. Nothing fits.
Now, we understand that Elliot Blair's body has been released to the family, but it is still at a funeral home in Tijuana, and bringing him home could take days. Lama Hassan, ABC News, London.
I don't know. I didn't really get... I thought there was more when we watched it. Some just don't... I don't know. It was their 1 year anniversary, right? 1 year anniversary. I don't know. Yeah, look at what I came across a few days, well, actually, like more like a week ago. Some special reports about Anna Walsh. I haven't had too many updates about that the last few days. CBS Boston and Boston 25, they each have their own little special. You know, I need to get me a background that has like crime scene tape and shadows. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Let me write that down. Crime scene background. Gonna figure something out. We're gonna get some new shit going. I might make a couple little short videos too. I can't drink those that give me heart Oh. Ooh. You know what I really like? Root beer. Oh, root beer is so good. I don't know about an enemy. It makes me wonder, like, I don't know. Something's definitely sketchy. Why I don't know. What was he doing in another location? So it doesn't make sense to me. Let's see here. Oh, there was a new News Nation video. Hold on 1 second. Where did it go? Here it is.
By Shelby County District Attorney.
Sorry, Carol.
Video the decision. Thank you very much, sir, especially a frenetic night. For now, the good news is the streets in your community and as far as we know around the country are taking this
root beer.
with progress as opposed to outrage.
Well, I'm thinking, Kelt, I'm thinking it's evidence they already have. I mean, they said they got proof. And they have to know who it is. Or a pretty good idea. But definitely need, I mean, when did this happen? Shit, when was that video? Let me see when that video was from. Because it's been... It's been a bit. I'm scrolling through my old videos here, trying to get back to that video to see. Shit, let me just go to my library 1 second. 6 days ago. And that was... No, that's new details. It's like a week and a half. I mean, if they already did their investigation, why did they not already send his body back? I don't know. Or it was still open. But if they think he fell, then they already... Yeah. Oh, that is... Ooh. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, SRB. That's why they're gonna... And it was cool for the lawyer to tell us. I mean, I'm sitting there listening to him. I'm like, damn. I wish some of the LE would be doing this shit in some of these cases, you know. I understand. You're giving us some really good information, and you're also keeping something, you know. And then also, yes, when we get to y'all talk, we'll have an update. You know, it's not reporters asking great questions, and you just keep saying the same answer. Nothing. Man, yeah, that's what it sounds like. All over tourism, you know? Oh, the freaking dollar. Oh. No video sound. You guys can't hear the video? Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Hello? It must be StreamYard then, because everything. I don't have mutes or nothing on. You guys really can't hear the video, huh? Huh. That's weird. Okay, I'll skip it then. That's weird. That never happens. I don't know. StreamYard is acting crazy. All right, 1 second here. Let me go to my folder. Well, maybe it has something to do with the video that was taken down a little bit ago. Because maybe that's why. No, the tab's not muted. The only way I can mute the tab is on my actual... It's on my actual panel. It's not muted. I bet it has some, because when we were watching or gonna start watching another video and it like shut it down, it probably has something to do with that. They're probably in the process of shutting down, removing that video too, and so they're not allowing the audio to they're not allowing the audio. No, everything's good on my end. I usually don't mute my screen share. Okay, Media Stokes. Maybe tell me if you guys hear this audio. It's to deal with this guy. I don't know. They must be deleting videos or something.
And as Ye morally stated, you will too.
Can you guys hear this?
In a word, it's absolutely appalling. Let me be clear. What happened here does not at all reflect proper policing. This was wrong. This was criminal.
There's no hint of defensive posturing. No one is defending the officers except for their attorneys.
Can you guys hear this?
The message has been clear. A determination was made that a very serious crime was committed. All 5 officers arrested and charged. Justin Smith, Desmond Mills Jr., Emmett Martin III, Demetrius Haley, Tadarius Bean, each faces charges of second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, official misconduct, and official oppression. But I'm sure there will be protests. But instead of following the chief's lead, trying to calm everyone down and emphasizing that no one is defending these officers at this point and lowering the temperature, at times it seems the media is almost ginning up unrest, talking about bracing for violence. We shouldn't have to brace for violence. No matter how bad the video is, that would not and doesn't justify violence. And more importantly, there is nothing else to do at this point. The protests, violent or not, won't lead to any change in policy. Why? Because the police chief and others believed from day one that this was a flagrant violation of their existing policies. In a moment, we'll talk to retired LAPD Captain Jerry Rodriguez. But first, I want to go to Amisha Cross, Democratic political activist who also worked as a community policing advisor. She advised police academies on use of force. Amisha, thanks very much for coming back to the show. Appreciate it. So what do you make of my commentary here that it's wrong that we're talking, that so many in the media are talking about bracing for possible violence? Why are we bracing for this?
Because the media has made a habit of making those types of statements. This isn't the first time, and I doubt it'll be the last. They did the same thing with Laquan McDonald in my hometown of Chicago. They did the same thing in advance of Breonna Taylor and, the information that came out about those officers. They did the same thing with several of the now hashtags of deceased Black people who have been abused by the police. It's a media tactic when, in all honesty, we see in very few of these cases that there have actually been extreme situations of violence. Protests are a part of American democracy. That happens. And quite frankly, too many unarmed Black people have become hashtags across social media because police officers have used excessive force. There's no problem with protests. It's just frustrating that whenever something like this happens, the automatic idea of the media is that, oh, Black people are going to riot in the streets, they're going to throw bombs, something is going to happen that is extremely dangerous, which in the majority of situations, we do not see that at all. We see people holding signs, we see them wanting to hold police accountable in their own hometowns, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Let me ask you about that. You mentioned about police accountability. And it does lead me to the question of what is the point of these protests, right? I'm assuming this video is going to be terrible, right? I'm assuming it's going to be really tough to watch, right? What is the point of the protest now that the book has been thrown at these officers? There's nothing else at this point that can be done. I would think the point of the protest is a change in policy, or arrest these guys, or charge these guys, or we don't like what the outcome was. What's the point of the protests?
It's universal. It's universal in the sense that for every case that does make national major media news attention, there are hundreds across this country that do not. And I think that for those individuals who do choose to protest, who are holding those signs, who are marching, they're bringing light to the issues in their own communities of police brutality. They're saying that this guy who literally got pulled over for a traffic stop should not have ended in death. And that, in all honesty, is the case for several Black people across this country. Traffic stops are one of the number one, reasons or
if you have a link, you can send it to me.
Excessive force. Why is it that in our community, traffic stops can happen, yet those people don't come out alive? Whereas in white communities across this country, a traffic stop can happen and either they get a ticket, whatever, they run their record, but that person still breathes the next. I think that there's something bigger there.
The numbers don't actually back that up. I agree with you on the issue of number of interactions, right? I was talking to a woman today on my radio show who said, look, when my son gets called in because he's walking in an apartment building or he's meeting a friend because he's Black and someone sees him there, he has an interaction with police that a white kid might not have. I thought, great point that she's making there about disproportionate interactions with police. But the idea that somehow police are beating the crap out of Black people more than they are white people just isn't borne out by the numbers. But
no, police are beating the crap out of a whole bunch of people. At the end of the day, the issue isn't even the color of the officer. We know that from the Memphis case and several other cases. The problem is not only it is in the training, it is in the backing of the blue. It is in a fundamental misunderstanding of when to use force and when not to use force. And quite frankly, police officers who honestly just shouldn't be on the streets.
Well, thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com.
Oh, he was going to have a response. I wanted to hear what the response was. Yeah, if you have any links, just send them to the show. But I'm sure if it's like if it's live or something, I'm sure there's somebody else that is specifically on that subject. There's a lot of other stuff here. Let me see. We went over that last night. Let's see. How crime unfolded. Now, I did want to check this out a couple of days ago. We do love bed crime stories. And I always got to put the source up there. Let's see here. So we're going to check out this latest video from her. I love her channel. Idaho forwarded Koberger make Reddit posts on how crime unfolded before the arrest. I want to hear what she has to say. I feel it was him.
Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T. I hope you guys are all doing well. To anyone new here, a warm welcome. Thank you so much for checking out the channel. Let me just ask you that if after listening to or watching the video, you find you enjoyed it or learned something, please do me a favor and hit the like button and consider subscribing. Now, let's get started. In a video posted on December 1st, 2022, Lauren of the Sweetie Pie Low YouTube channel read an anonymous Reddit post that appears to have been since deleted, but she found that post in a Facebook group on November 28th of 2022. The Reddit post appeared to have been screenshotted a week before it appeared on the Facebook group's page. The screenshot doesn't show the username of the person who wrote the Reddit post, nor does it show its date. Lauren said she felt it could have been written by the perpetrator of this crime, and it certainly sounded like it. She replayed her reading of the Reddit post in a recent live on her channel, which is where I heard it for the first time. She played it so that her listeners could compare the info in it to what we have since learned about the crime from the released probable cause affidavit for Brian Kohberger's arrest. I found the Reddit post pretty riveting to hear. The anonymous Reddit post describes how the person believes the crime unfolded in the early morning hours of November 13th when the 4 students died. The post begins with the words, "Here's what I think happened." Of course, the post was on Reddit, so we cannot know for certain who wrote it. Could it have been by Brian Kohberger? Maybe. Could it have been written by someone else simply wanting to share his or her beliefs about the crime? Also a possibility. I thought it would be worthwhile to listen to that anonymous Reddit post as read by Sweetie Pie Low. Now, after Kohberger's arrest and after the release of the probable cause affidavit for his arrest, to see how well the details in the post match up with what's in the affidavit. I found it interesting to compare and contrast the information, and I thought you might find it interesting too. Let's start by listening to a recording of Lauren of Sweetie Pie Low reading the Reddit post, and I'll leave a link to her channel in the description.
Now, this to me sounds like it could very well have been from the killer. It makes you wonder, when you guys hear this, it's going to make you wonder if this person was there. Honest to God. Okay, so it says, here's what I think happened. They all come home around the same time, home by 2 a.m. The killer is already there, in the wood line, hiding in the dark, but with a full view of the back of the house the entire time. Watches and waits as they all eat and congregate briefly in the second level kitchen area, in varying states of inebriation. Finally, they go to their respective bedrooms, Ethan and Zan on the second level, locking the bedroom door behind them. Maddie and Kaylee do the same on the third level, initially to their own rooms to get ready for bed. The killer is outside, motionless, still waiting patiently, noting what lights are turning on and off, and tracking the faint sound of opening and closing bathroom and bedroom doors. His intended target is in there, on the top floor, and all lights
So he
are
was
out now.
chilling in
He
the
waits
back
24
behind the
minutes
sliding
in
glass door.
silence, yet he is concerned about the unexpected male in the house. But he is too hopped up on all of this fantasy, months in the making, to turn back time. Plus, he has a target, a mission to accomplish, a retribution. He hopes he can accomplish his task without having.
Let this soft mineral melt in your mouth to rebuild your gums and teeth. And
What?
never need a dentist again. People are
even bother with the couple on the second floor. He is stealthy. He is practiced. He slips in quietly. A window, a door, it doesn't matter. He is in, undetected, and quietly ascending the staircase to the third floor now. He reaches the intended target's door. It is slightly ajar. In the dim glow of charging electronics, he notices there are 2 girls in bed. He freezes for a moment, stops and listens to the deafening silence, and realizes it is far too late to turn back now. He pushes in silently
Wow.
and sees his target. She's sleeping hard now, and so is her bedmate. So this person knew that they were in the same bed before it was ever announced by the parents, by the way, or by the dad last night. Of course, a lot of us could assume that that was the case. I know I did, but this is kind of interesting, okay? He hovers over the target and unleashes his carnage, a barrage quickly incapacitating her. The girl lying next to her is awake now, but only for long enough to say no. several times, the last one being loud enough to further enrage the killer. She too is quickly dispatched. He had practiced this 1,000 times in his mind. It was quick, the whole thing. He checked his watch. It had only been 3 minutes in total since he entered the home.
It does sound like a book, you know?
Let's see, hold on. The bedrooms, a total of 5 minutes since he slipped inside the house.
This is pretty
The killers
interesting.
Quickly look around and pauses to listen. No sounds downstairs, but his heart is pounding so loudly in his ears, he doesn't hear the hushed voices and quiet shuffling coming from the second floor bedroom. As he begins his descent down the stairs to make his quick and silent exit, his sick mission now accomplished, a wave of exhaustion rolls over him as he steps off the stairs onto the floor of the second level. He sees his exit across the room. He begins to move towards it slightly, and then says, "To be continued, maybe."
The details from the Reddit post that match the evidence in the probable cause affidavit include 1. That all 4 victims arrived home by 2 a.m. 2. That Ethan and Xana retired to Xana's bedroom on the second floor. That's an easy guess, though, because obviously Ethan and Xana would be sleeping in Xana's room. 3. That Maddie and Kaylee went up to the 3rd floor to sleep. That's also an easy guess because we know that their bedrooms were up there. Here's the kicker, though. The post said that Maddie and Kaylee were sleeping in the same bed and that it threw the perpetrator off for a second. Kaylee's father, Steve Gonsalves, leaked that detail about his daughter and Maddie Mogan dying in the same bed at the November 30th candlelight vigil. So that would have been after this Reddit post appeared on the Facebook group's page. How could this anonymous author have known about that detail if he wasn't the perpetrator? Either Kohberger wrote the post to mess with people's heads, or someone who was privy to inside details about where Kaylee and Maddie's bodies were found wrote it. Or the writer just got lucky with that one detail. If it wasn't Kohberger trying to throw out red herrings, could it have been one of the friends of the 2 surviving roommates who were called to the house early Sunday morning before the 911 call was made, and who may have found out that way that Kaylee and Maddie were deceased in Maddie's bed? There's a lot in this anonymous Reddit post that doesn't mesh with the information in the probable cause affidavit, and it has to do primarily with the timeline. The person who authored the Reddit post said that the perpetrator was already at the King Road residence, outside in the back, hiding in the tree line, watching the house before the students arrived home by 2 a.m.
Whoa.
But according to the probable cause affidavit, a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of suspect vehicle 1, which refers to Kohberger's white Elantra, was observed on several Washington State University surveillance cameras in Pullman, Washington, starting at 2:44 a.m. So if Kohberger was at the wheel, he was not yet in Moscow. Thus, he could not have been hiding out in the tree line at the back of the property before 2 a.m.
Right.
Suspect vehicle 1, again the white Elantra, wasn't captured on security camera footage near the girl's house in Moscow until 3:28 a.m. when it was seen traveling westbound in the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive. The affidavit says that multiple videos obtained from the King Road neighborhood showed multiple sightings of this white sedan in the area in front of the girl's home at 1122 King Road. The white sedan drove past the girl's house 4 times. The first pass occurred at 3:29 a.m. The fourth and final pass was at 4:04 a.m. After that, that white sedan likely parked on Queen Road out of sight.
Yeah.
It sounds like the perpetrator was driving repeatedly by the girl's house to see if the lights were still on. I
Ah.
believe the perpetrator witnessed the DoorDash delivery person
Yep.
who arrived at the house at 4 a.m. Once that driver departed, which likely occurred right before 4:04 a.m.,
Yep.
the white sedan did its final pass at 4:04 a.m. The white sedan wasn't spotted again until 4:20 a.m. when it was captured departing the area of the King Road residence at a high rate of speed. Next, the white sedan was seen traveling southbound on Walenta Drive. The police believe the white sedan finally exited the neighborhood at Palouse River Drive and Conestoga Drive. The only way that Kohberger could have been in the tree line before 2 a.m. was if he had some sort of decoy person drive his white car from Pullman to
Right.
Moscow, where it showed up on cameras at 3:28 a.m. And Kohberger himself traveled to Moscow in a different vehicle before 2 a.m. and parked it out of sight of the security cameras in the King Road neighborhood or on Walenta Drive. And that makes absolutely no sense, because why would Kohberger have a decoy person
Right.
drive his white Elantra to the King Road neighborhood at 3:29 a.m. so that his car, could be spotted near the crime scene right before the crime kicked off, and then spotted again tearing off right after it? That would just make Kohberger look like the perpetrator. If we stick to Occam's razor, that the simplest explanation is usually the right one, I think it's safe to say that whoever made this Reddit post was likely not Brian Kohberger. If Kohberger wrote it, A, he got the details of his own crime wrong. Of course, he could have been trying to throw out red herrings and mess with the heads of online sleuths, but I doubt it. I think whoever wrote this is someone who fancies himself or herself a good sleuth. It's also possible that whoever wrote it was a friend of the surviving roommates who were called to the house before 911 was dialed, and that they learned that Kaylee and Maddie were in the same bed that way. Or it could be a student
I mean, it's
who
a
knew
good
a friend
story.
of a friend and who perhaps heard the information about the crime
But she's right, it
that
doesn't
might
line
have
up.
leaked out from the surviving roommates and the friends who were called to the home. But then they would have gotten the timeline wrong, because Dylan M. does know the timeline. What do you guys think? Was this posted by someone who just wanted to have a stab, excuse the term, at envisioning how the crime unfolded based on the information that was floating around before the affidavit was published? Does the person's knowledge about where Kaylee and Maddie were found mean the person heard that from a survivor, a friend of the survivors, or somebody working on the case? Or was it just a wild guess that the person happened to get right? It's a very odd coincidence in that case. After working through all of this, my head hurts. The only good thing to come from this exercise for me is that I have the timeline of those 4 passes of the white sedan etched in my brain now. Until the next time on Bed Crime Stories. On your way out, please smash the like button and subscribe.
Smash it. Oh, come on. On YouTube. Damn. You guys are talking a lot of liquor in chat. I thought about getting some wine. I need to do that some night where I'm just chilling back, doing a show instead of having coffee, sipping on a glass of wine or two. Does sound good. Man, that sucks, because now I gotta try and find that video and then remove it. I can't stand it when it does this. And it does it all the time. I don't understand. Okay, 1 second here. Where was that? There it is. It's up to the court to make this right. I don't know what that is. Let's see. Opposing scenarios. State and defense lay out starkly opposing scenarios. Yes, wine. Yeah. You just gotta be careful with that shit.
Brian, let me bring another
It tastes so
friend into the
good.
conversation.
It'll bite
Nima
you.
Rahmani is a former federal
Be like,
prosecutor,
"Whoa,
also
shit.
president
I'm
of the
drunk
West. So I
already."
wanted to get your read as well, because I mean, I just love openings and closings. I like the trial, the testimony phase and evidence phase, but I really love openings. And as openings go, I feel like Dick Harpootlian just gets it, right? I just think he gets who he was talking to. He gets the South Carolina courtroom. He gets this community, the Low Country. And I feel like he laid out a case that made sense. And his client cried while he described the horrible injuries to his client's son. And to me, that meant a lot. Is it just me because I'm too into trials and maybe the jurors aren't?
It's not just you. The defense has the advantage, and cases are won or lost on opening. And today, the defense won, and this is why. I mean, a lot of the evidence that we were waiting to hear, the Snapchat video, that helps the defense, the lack of blood splatter, the forensic, even the cell site evidence. So I really was hoping that the prosecution would come out strong. I'm a former prosecutor. I think he did it, but it doesn't matter what I think. It's what the prosecution can prove.
It's true. And then there was one weird thing, and maybe Brian, you can help us understand what happened. You know, you don't like to interrupt openings or closings, and you don't like to do any objections either. There was that, both. But there was an objection and an interruption. I'm more interested in the interruption. The judge actually left the courtroom in the middle. I think it was like midway through the prosecutor's opening. Do you have any idea what happened?
Yeah, that is such a good question. And that was one of the number one questions today I saw on Twitter. We don't know. It seemed like perhaps someone handed him a note. He was gone just for a couple of minutes. I don't think they officially even took a recess. He just said, hold on a minute, left, came back in and started up again. But there were even some lawyers in the courtroom sitting just watching who said they'd never seen that happen ever before.
All right, so Nima, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because mood, impression, what feels right, what doesn't feel right is often how a juror will make a decision, right? A gut check. And to that end, both of these attorneys were after that. Number one, because the body cam is going to be played tomorrow, and I can't wait for that. And it's going to show the demeanor of Alec Murdaugh when the police first arrived. And, you know, the prosecutors are going to suggest that ain't right. That just ain't right for a guy who just lost his wife and kid, right? Just discovered them dead. But the defense has already said in this courtroom to this jury, you know what? He had just lost his wife and these guys show up. The cops show up with a body cam. He's already grabbed a rifle in case the killer's still around. And immediately he feels like they think he did it. He thinks they think right away he's the killer. So how would you act? Is that brilliant, or is that par for the course, the way the defense attorney sort of made sure that they had that in their head before they see the body cam?
Actually, it's really defense lawyering 101. It's a rush to judgment, attack the investigating officers, right? And the defense seems to like that 911 video and that 911 recording and the video, because they talked about it a lot during opening. They said, you know, they find Alex Murdaugh, he can't even load his weapon, right? Even though he's an avid hunter. So I think the defense has done a good job painting Alex Murdaugh as a widower, someone who has lost his wife and his oldest son, right? Whereas if you're the prosecution, you want to dirty him up. You want to focus on those financial crimes, show that he's a liar and a cheat. And I don't think they did a good job doing that today, because that's their whole motive for this, right? They're saying that Alex did this to gain sympathy and draw attention to a hearing that was just going to happen in a few days, that was going to expose him and subject him to financial ruin.
Yeah, I just thought there was going to be a whole lot more coming, and I didn't get it. I thought there'd be so much more to that motive. You don't have to prove motive, but jurors want it. They want to connect that dot. Okay, I got to leave it there. Brian Enton, thank you. And Nima Rahmani, thank you. I hope you'll come back again. Thank you for watching.
So you think the prosecution's pretty strong, Kid Kitty? I haven't watched too much of it. Let me see here. I did want to get into this. I do enjoy her channel. She's really cool. She's got an interesting personality. And I did want to hear about this. I did save it from, was it yesterday? About Leilani. An update. I know, it's odd about this Alex Murdaugh. Or Alec, sorry. It was confirmed with the interrogation video from earlier. Alec.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Thursday, January 26th. We about knocked this month out. It's almost February. In the case yesterday, Leilani Simon was supposed to be in court, still heavily following the Quentin Simon case. Never going to let that go. Leilani waived her right to be in court, but her attorneys were there. The judge that was supposed to oversee the hearing, the judge that was assigned, had an unavoidable event and couldn't be there. That's okay. Court still went on. One thing that was said in this clip we're going to look at together is that they want to go through past history. Now, it's just my opinion, and I have no legal background to stand on with my opinion, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't think Leilani and her public defenders are going to do anything unless it benefits Leilani. I think they might even be taking a page out of the old Casey Anthony defense. Mind you, Billy was not there. Billy can't be accused of murdering Quentin like her daughter Leilani, but they mentioned past history. I think they're going to try to use this as some sort of defense. I really do. I guess we'll see as it plays out. It is going forward for sure. There's another hearing in February. We'll probably have a live before or after that, or both. You never know. You never know. There's no more having fits drunk in the driveway or in the front yard by Billy to deflect from what happened to Quentin. It's all very much in the hands of the courts, and we'll see how it plays out. Like I said, that's just my opinion. I think that they're going to try to do a defense about, well, they say in this, they mention past history. Because her attorneys are not dumb. They are definitely looking at social media, reading social media, comments, posts, the whole 9 yards, and they know that the public is not a fan of Billy. It's been said millions of times, Billy had custody. Billy was not supposed to let the boys around Leilani. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be very telling what goes on at this next hearing in February. Let's look at this. And as always, if you don't mind, please give it a like, please share it, and leave me a comment. I want to know what you're thinking.
We have movement on the Leilani Simon case. Our Olivia Wild joins us live in the Chatham County Courthouse. And Olivia, you were in room 2C today for the hearing.
Riley, good evening. I was, most notably, though, Leilani Simon was not. She did waive her right to appear in court this afternoon. We did hear a little bit from her public defender as well as the state prosecutor, but not much. There were two things that were supposed to be discussed during this hearing. The first was if media would be allowed during the motions hearing that was scheduled for today. Then, of course, there was going to be a motion here to decide if family documents and past history could be disclosed during the trial. That did not happen. And I did speak with a state public prosecutor afterward to see why that was the case. If he knew that that was going to be canceled today, he said he would not comment on that. I also do want to note that the judge who was supposed to be presiding over the case was notably absent. So that could be potentially why also Leilani Simon's family was not in court this afternoon. Riley?
All right.
Come on, YouTube. And that's like March, right? Yeah, nothing much came out of it. Oh, it put me at the top again. Why? I did everything the right way. Come on, YouTube. Dang. Now this puts me in a spot I don't remember. I have so many videos. Oh my gosh, where? Oh, YouTube. Oh yeah, Kib Kitty, you wanted me to go to this timestamp of 6 something. This is one of the channels I do check out when I have free time. Let me see here. Kib Kitty said to go to let me see what it was. Timestamp 6:44. Okay, 6:44.
So remember, the defense, and this is all normal, but the defense put a request out for the discovery. They wanted everything. I mean, they even wanted any drug tests, just everything. Well, now we know that the state has given them at least 100 documents, some photos, and one video at least. We don't know what yet. It has not been made public. There's a gag order, but we are going to look at what is public as far as that stuff goes. Latitude, I'm so happy you found us too. I cannot with YouTube and the freaking reminders. So LFT's in here. I want to give her a rinse
It's everybody.
started because it's going to be a little bit.
Weren't you guys saying something like you didn't get a notification again tonight? And Kib Kitty sent a message about there's a new document in the Koberger case.
Bit more difficult to give them once I'm going. Let's see. And I still don't know what I'm going to do with wrenches, guys. I'll be honest with you. If, hey Seth, if you have a wrench on the channel, I really want for us to be able to be in some sort of group conversation with everyone. So I don't know who's if anyone's uncomfortable with something like that, that's just going to be something that we have to talk about. But for tonight and temporarily, I need wrenches. The other day, there were some comments I didn't see because I was reading to you guys and stuff that I definitely would have not wanted kept on my live, shaming addicts and stuff like that. Look, I know that, a couple of the people's mothers have drug problems and stuff like that. To me, right now, it is unrelated, and I don't want to mix the two. I don't want addict bashing. You guys know my opinion.
This is a good message.
Anyone in active addiction is the best parent. It's just part of the disease. The addiction comes first, right? So it comes before you. I can even say, back in my active addiction, I wasn't before I had Bentley. And I'm at peace with that, and I want to be a better parent now. And it is hard to make peace with that stuff. It comes with a lot of guilt. But I can honestly say the difference in my parenting is like crazy different. So we need a group for mods. That's what I was thinking, Lori. Is dropping links still the same? Yep. Only if I tell you. I don't want to drop links anymore just because people come in. I'm not doing that anymore. Just for a little bit. I do 2-pointer lover. Maybe we can do it on Facebook. I don't know if you guys are all on there. Hey Mike. Hey Random Man. No, Woofy. I don't like that either. Hey Corey, thank you. That's sweet. Guilt and shame. Yes, Latitude. Oh my God. It's unbelievable. But I'll tell you this. The guilt and the shame that you feel is heavy and it is hard to face. It will almost hold you back from getting better. But the good thing is after that, you are no longer hiding anything. You can look anyone in the face without shame because you're not hiding anything. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I will have the hammer and the wrench because I'm greedy. Yeah, it's okay. But anyway, so I didn't want those comments in here. Hey, Rescue Mom. Exactly, Crime Sleuthin. I'm with you there. And look, a lot of people have tried to connect this.
Let me see. I'm not sure when it's coming up. We're at the 10-minute mark.
This case with drugs. We know that he has a past with drugs. There's rumors about the house, this and that. And if that ever comes out to be the case, we'll talk about it. But we're not going to make those kind of insinuations. I think we've seen how dangerous things can get with this case. Look at how everyone treated Jack S. Jack D. I mean, I don't want to do that to anyone. And I just, yeah. Thank you, Punksy. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Whoever gets off, what is their business? Ain't nothing to do with nothing. That's true, yeah. Thank you, Melinda. Yeah, I know. She broke my heart, too. Okay, give me just a second, you guys, and we're going to get right into this. So let me switch over. I got to get my phone, though, for a second. And, yeah, what are you guys doing tonight, by the way?
Where, do you know where what you're referring to, Kid Kitty, on this video? Is this the document? This is the one? Okay. All right, so let me put the link to this video in the chat. And this is at 11:17. And we'll go ahead and get into this document. No, we just watched different clips, Detective Juan. You should know if you're in Alex's channel or not because it has whose channel you're actually watching. And I don't know who you're talking about that. Let's see. Jack D guilty is charged. Yeah. A lot of us did. I mean, you know, different views and possibilities. So here's a link to this video. Now, some new document. Do you know what the document is, Kid Kitty? Yeah, I think we all were at some point. Shit, we were looking at like hats and shit, trying to figure out what the hat was, you know? All right, so this is supposed to be some new document here.
It's Friday. My Where's that sound coming from? I know that was echoing. I'm sorry, you guys. My son's at basketball. Oh, thank you, Chemistry Queen. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And I love you too. Also, I'm really proud of your son. 5 years is a long freaking time. And you know what? I was talking yesterday. I know how hard that was on you because I've watched my parents go through it. And I swear to you, I believe it's harder on the parents and the people that are home worrying every night if the person's going to be alive the next day or where they're at and all that stuff. I really do. I feel for you. And I'm so glad that he's doing better. It took me a second to read the thing because I was trying to add a moderator. Oh, thank you, Seth. That was really sweet. Oh, look at you, Crime Sleuth, and you got one from So there you go. Thank you. That was really, really nice, and I appreciate that. On your birthday weekend. Yeah, it's Seth's birthday, so happy birthday, Seth. I told Seth yesterday, but so you guys can tell him. I'm proud of every survivor, too. Absolutely. Okay.
I'm not sure. Hold on. I'm not sure what. Okay, maybe it's up to here. Let's see. 1712, I think. Maybe this is it.
Over it and we're going to read. I think it's just a few pages. Yeah, they're from the prosecution, and because you remember they already put in the request for a lot of the evidence that they had, which
Oh, this is a request for discovery. Is this what you were talking about? Never mind. Okay. 1 second here. Okay. Okay, this is a video regarding Xana's mom, I believe, from Dan Abrams. We did watch some News Nation last night with Banfield. What about the miss?
Last night, the mother of Idaho murder victim Xana Kernodle spoke to News Nation's Ashley Banfield, and this wasn't just about how heartbroken she is or even about the suspect, Brian Kohberger. No, this is a bizarre Kohberger lawyer that should really lead to a lot of questions. Kohberger's public defender, Ann Taylor, who we've seen in court with Kohberger, withdrew as the lawyer for Kara Northington, Xana's mother, when she agreed to take the Kohberger case. Yes, Kohberger's lawyer withdrew from her case to defend the man accused of killing her daughter. Her charges were filed on November 19th, just 6 days after her daughter's murder, after being charged with 2 felony.
So that was okay. Hold on. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm slow to chat or something. Here, we'll get back to it after this video.
Count the possession of a cold Zeb. Taylor withdrew on January 5th, the day a judge appointed her as Kohberger's public defender for the murders of Xana, Madison, Kaylee, and Ethan. Now, Xana's mom spoke with Ashley about how she felt learning the news that her attorney had sort of switched sides, so to speak.
I'm heartbroken because I trusted her. She pretended that she was wanting to help me, and to find that out that she's representing him, I can't even convey how betrayed I feel.
Northington goes on to say that no one had notified her Taylor was no longer in her case, but she found out from a friend who saw it on Reddit. Says she hasn't signed any waiver giving approval for the switch, and even says she'd given Taylor her power of attorney. But Taylor obviously made a choice and withdrew from Xana's mother's case for the bigger case, Kohberger and the murder. Sure, small town, limited pool of public defenders, and even fewer who are
I don't
qualified
think
to
it's
handle a death penalty case. I get it. But it doesn't change the reality that a
I don't
woman
think it's a toupee
trusted her
coat.
attorney, who was depending on her attorney, was abandoned by her to instead represent the guy accused of killing her daughter. Why is that okay without her consent? Joining me now is Tim Kressback, a former Idaho public defender who served as death penalty qualified counsel in Idaho. Thanks so much for coming on the program. Real quick, any obligation on the lawyer's part to consult with the client about withdrawing from this kind of case?
Perhaps. I just don't think we know enough about that attorney-client relationship. I'm not even sure that Ann Taylor ever met with her or learned any confidences. And
That's not the way she's characterizing it.
You know, the process will be played out. Dan, there's so much in this case that we don't know. Just a month ago, we were saying that the Moscow Police Department was the most incompetent police department in the country, and then a month later, hailed as geniuses. Let's let the process work.
I guess
I'm complaining about any conflict.
I was taking Mom at her word. I'm so sorry we didn't get more time with you. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find news.
He ended that kind of weird. I'm sorry we didn't have more time. Yeah, I know. There's Cherry. There's been different things about the dog being popped up. I think it's a spray tan. Oh well. Maybe he doesn't have time. Yeah. Right, Phantom? I'm sorry. Look, sorry. I wish we had more time. Sorry. It's like, damn, dude. Instead of going back to that video, if somebody has the state's response to request for discovery, if you want to email it to me, and then we can just go over it ourselves. And we can just do that sometime. Let me see. Sorry I couldn't get to that part quicker. I'm going to go back to my folder here, and we'll just kind of go through this stuff. Not just saying, not Jid. You know how Coat feels. No, that's not Dan Abrams. It's Como, or however you pronounce his name. Yeah. It's Como is that how you Como? Cuomo? That's the one that gets Kel riled up. Let's see here. 4-minute drive. So we haven't watched one of his videos for a while. We started to watch one the other day, and then it showed one friend or something on some nah, I'm cool. I just bounced. But we're gonna check out this video here. Richard Allen home in Delphi. Cuomo. Okay, thank you.
Jonathan Lee Riches Investigates. This video is for journalist and education purposes only. I'm going to take you to the home of Richard Allen. Richard Allen is arrested and accused of murdering 2 innocent young females in Delphi, Indiana. I'm going to take you to his home and then show you the distance from his home to downtown Delphi, Indiana. This is to awareness. This is to shine the light on the bad in the world. Justice for the victims and their families, in total support of the victims in this case. Everyone be safe, God bless, and enjoy.
This dude's all over the place now. Yeah, we've already did our search before in private. It shows Detective One.
So Richard Allen,
But he does come out with some good content, I feel, lately here. Last, month, guys? We've been checking out some of it.
His house is right here on
Just some of the information.
1967, right? 1967.
Crazy shit,
And
though.
this is his house in the daytime. 1967.
So nobody lives there anymore, right? Nobody lives there anymore, I believe. I believe after he was arrested, I think she moved out shortly after that. I believe nobody lives there anymore. Yeah, we started checking some of his video. We didn't watch him for a while, but we started checking out some of the Idaho and Delphi stuff. Let's see here. We already watched this one a couple days ago. We just watched this one. Let's see here. Did Instagram Surviving the Survivor. Nah, we'll skip that one. First Witness. I did want to check this one out. That was an interesting screen. J is for Justice podcast. I do enjoy her channel. While I'm working is usually when I enjoy the lives. So we're going to check out a video from her channel. She's got an interesting personality as well. Usually when I'm working, though, she's going live.
This is the first meeting of our Washington State Board of Regents since the arrest of a suspect in the tragic murders of the 4 University of Idaho students that occurred last November. The past few months have been frightening, heartbreaking for both the family and friends of the victims, as well as our friends and our colleagues at the University of Idaho, our WSU community, and the residents of Palouse. So with that, I would like to take a moment of silence to honor the young people who were killed on that day. Let's also acknowledge that these individuals whose lives have been forever changed by the shocking crime, and honor those who continue to work tirelessly to restore the trust in our communities. So please join me in a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. With that, I am going to ask President Kurt Schultz to speak, if he can, specifically to the situation, the current status of the situation, and just providing our Board of Regents an update around what has occurred and what continues to be in motion. So with that, Kirk, I will turn it to you.
Well, let me add my good morning as well. You got to love the virtual environment. I'm in my office in Pullman this morning after traversing most areas of the state over the last 3 weeks. So welcome, everybody. This is like the second year in a row where I think we've done a virtual January meeting. Jeanette, I'm not sure where you are, but man, your backdrop looks really cool. So much better than my sort of foggy one in the background. As many of you know, law enforcement officials in Pennsylvania arrested a Washington State University graduate student as a suspect in the quadruple homicide that took place in Moscow, Idaho in November. The Federal Family Educational Records and Privacy Act, better known as FERPA, prevents university disclosing details about a student's record at an institution. This limits what information WSU officials can share about the suspect. I can tell you that the individual spent 1 semester at Washington State University and is not currently enrolled. It is important to add that this is an active criminal investigation and prosecution. It would be improper for WSU to publicly discuss further information regarding the suspect at this time. WSU police have assisted local, state, and federal law enforcement officials from the beginning of this case, and they will do so as the investigation and prosecution continue. This individual's arrest has stunned the Pullman community. The W Pullman team has taken additional steps to help the campus community process the news of December 30th arrest. Some of these steps include student affairs and mental health staff from Cougar Health Services been reaching out directly to those students who have a personal connection to either the incident or the suspect. The hiring of a trauma specialist work with impacted individuals within the university community. Hosting in-person and online listening sessions open to all Pullman students during the first week of the semester. Establishing a contemplative spaces around campus to provide students and employees a safe place to reflect and to recharge. It is worth noting that the WSU Pullman campus has long offered a variety of security services to students and employees. These services were enhanced following the November homicides. These services include Cougar Safe Rides, which provide free vehicle transportation to and from campus most nights. A free walking escort service to, from, and across campus, which is provided by the WSU Police Cadet Corps and is also available in the evenings. The emergency blue light telephones located across campus that directly connect users to the regional police, fire, and emergency medical 911 communication center. An emergency alert text system which notifies the WSU Pullman community of any potential safety threats. That's really all I'm prepared to say today about this. I appreciate the fact that we have Chief Jenkins with us on the Zoom call this morning. And I just want to express my appreciation to the WSU Pullman campus leadership, Chancellor Chilton, Chief Jenkins, and all the other folks that have been intimately involved in working with our faculty, students, and staff, and will continue to do so as we continue to process this tragedy during the semester. With that, I'll turn the microphone back over to you, Chair Dickinson.
Thank you, President Schultz. We appreciate the update and appreciate you all taking the moment here to just pause and think about those individuals that we spoke of. So, okay, we will.
Okay. All right. Here's another channel I'm going to show. They just came out with a video that has to do with what we thought was a hand injury during that body cam of Brian Koberger. This is the channel True Crime Time and 007. And yeah, with JLR, I mean, the stuff before I was like, eh. But recently I'm like, I gotta admit, dude is getting out there doing different things. So
Hey everybody, today I was spending some time in the True Crime Time Forensic Lab, taking a closer look at the alleged injuries on Brian's wrist that were captured on body cam during those Indiana traffic stops. I used my phone to enhance the image a little bit, and I wanted to share with you how those images turned out, and I wanted to hear what you all think about how these injuries may have occurred. Now, I have a couple of theories on how it could have possibly happened, but I do want to know what you all think, because there are a lot of ways that these injuries could have gotten on Brian's wrist. So I just took a still image from the body cam footage, and I went into the edit settings on my phone, and I went up to the sharpness. I zoomed in a little bit, and then I started just kind of adjusting all of the different options that it gave me, moving the dial back and forth, trying to get a good clear view of the injury on Brian's wrist. I had to do it a few times because I would get so far into the adjustments that the picture would actually get more blurry. So I would start over from the beginning, and I was able to get two really clear images of the injuries, and I want to share those with you now. You all can definitely do the same thing with your phone. If you take this image, zoom in and put the settings, and you'll probably see a very similar outcome to what I've done. So I have two pictures to share with you. One's a little bit brighter, one's a little bit darker. The darker one, I think, shows the shape of the injuries a bit more. And I think the lighter picture portrays a little bit better how deep the injuries may be. We should keep in mind that these injuries are now about 30 days old from the time of the murders. I do think the shape of these injuries is very interesting. You see, we have almost a perfect square shape. We see that kind of half moon shape. I do think that these injuries look like something that could have been caused by somebody defending from a knife attack. But I could definitely understand the angle that these markings could have been caused by an object. For example, if somebody were swinging a knife and they...
Right, SRB, it was like when he was recorded in the hotel and walking down the hallway with all them doors, and I'm like, wouldn't it be crazy if somebody walked out and just like looked and was like, oh shit, I'm on camera. And then right at the end, some dude did walk out of his room and did like a triple take. I'm on camera.
Overswung, or they missed their... Somebody were swinging a knife and they overswung, or they missed their wrist, could come in contact with a bed frame, a headboard, the edge of a desk, maybe a door, or even a door jamb. But of course, let me know what you think about this. I'm just kind of throwing some ideas out there to get us thinking, but there's a lot of scenarios that could have caused these wrist injuries. Did one of the victims maybe grab his wrist while trying to fend off the knife attack and dig in with their fingernails? Could Brian's DNA be under the fingernails of one of the victims? So here's another look at those two images, so you can let me know what you think in the comments below. Congratulations to anybody who is still watching at this point. I'm impressed with your attention to detail. You are now the first to be offered a new feature on my channel. I'm going to be activating memberships where you can join and get special access to...
Dude, you're just activating memberships and you got 16,000 subs, man? Shit, I'm doing it on day one. What are you doing? What are you doing, man? Damn. All right, we're going to switch back over here. This is from CBS News, the first witness in the Alec Murdaugh murder trial. I want to see what... There's a couple more videos we'll be checking out here. No, I mean, when we looked at the body cam, it looked like...
Another story.
When we were looking at the body cam, it did look like there was something there. For sure. And then also we were looking at the knuckles and it looked like, you know, the discoloration and such. But when we were looking at other pictures, that's how his knuckles normally were. So I'm sure that was a shadow when it came to the discoloration where the knuckle area was at. But when it came to the wrist, definitely those look like marks that normal, who knows? You know, maybe there's scars from prior or something, but yeah, there was definitely something there. That's for sure.
Story we're following closely for you. The first witness in the double murder trial of Alex Murdaugh.
The former South Carolina lawyer is accused of killing his wife and son to distract from financial crimes that were about to come to light.
The prosecution called Sergeant Daniel Green of the Colleton County Sheriff's Office to the stand. He was one of the first officers who arrived on the scene back in June of 2021. He described what he found and what it was like speaking with the Murdaugh family for the first time.
His immediate reaction was to start telling me about an incident that had happened with his son with a boating accident.
With the boating accident?
Yes, sir.
Had you asked him anything about that?
I did not.
Did you ever see any tears in your interactions with Mr. Murdaugh?
He did not appear to be crying. He was upset, but I did not see any visible tears.
CBS News national correspondent Nikki Batiste joins us from outside the courthouse in Wattleboro, South Carolina. Nikki, the first witness to take the stand in the trial was a first responder. Tell us about the prosecution's strategy here, and what are we expecting this witness to bring to light? It does sound like it was very important that emphasis was on the boat and those other financial crimes that you've reported on that maybe all tied into a potential motive.
I think without a doubt, the prosecution wanted the jury to see Alex Murdaugh's behavior in those moments after they arrived. He says he had just found the body of his wife and son. To explain why the boating accident comment is critical, that was one of the very first comments he made to Sergeant Green. In 2019, Paul Murdaugh, his son, who was lying there dead, was driving a boat under the influence of alcohol. It crashed and a young woman, Mallory Beach, died. He was ultimately charged in that incident. There was supposed to be a hearing 3 days after the murders of Maggie and Paul regarding that hearing, during which financial statements of Alex Murdaugh's were expected to be revealed. And that's important because the prosecution's motive, what we expect they'll present as a motive, is that Alex Murdaugh wanted to hide his financial statements because he had been stealing money for decades from clients. We now know that he was trying to buy time. The other interesting comment that we heard today in court is that Alex was pretty quick to give an alibi. He said, a couple minutes after the first responder arrived, I was visiting my sick mother. I came back. They weren't answering their phones. I came down here. I found them dead. I went to get a shotgun. I came back. And he did have his shotgun on him when they arrived. That is not the murder weapon. And then lastly, the prosecution repeatedly asked the sergeant, did you see him crying? Did you see Alex Murdaugh crying? And he never once saw him crying. He said he was visibly upset at points, anxious at times, but he never shed a tear. Lana and Errol?
Nikki, it's everything you've just laid out is so almost surreal to know that this man is being alleged to have possibly committed these crimes.
Sounds like
to
there's
cover
a
up financial
freaking
crimes, which
tractor
is stemming
going on
from
in the
a previous
background or
case.
something.
Talk to us more about what happened during opening statements and Murdaugh's demeanor, considering that everything is on the line for him.
Yeah, it was interesting to see opening statement yesterday. I think, again, everyone to see how Alex Murdaugh would behave for the first time in front of a jury. He remained pretty calm and confident. He looked just like one of the lawyers, very, very much involved in the case. The entire hour of opening statements, except for one moment, when the prosecution was describing the violent murders of his wife and son, he did wipe away tears with a tissue. Other than that, he wasn't emotional. The only time he truly cried was before court actually started, when his son, Buster, his surviving son, walked into the courtroom. That was the first time he was in the courtroom. And that was an emotional moment for him. Alex and Lana?
So we know, Nikki, that that this is also complicated by the fact that the Murdaugh family has such influence there in that community.
Big time.
How's the community been responding to
Whoa.
the trial up till this point?
Big time
It's interesting.
influence.
When you say they have influence, it's hard to explain the amount of power and influence this family has. When I first started covering this case in 2021, no one would
There
talk
ain't no
to us even
tractor
off
here.
camera informally because they either knew the Murdaughs
I
or
don't know what
feared the
you're talking
Murdaughs. They were petrified of this family and the power. Now it's interesting. I've spoken with about 5 to 10 locals since I've been here, and every single one of them say they believe Alex Murdaugh is guilty, and every single one of them wants this to all go away and for life to return to normal here.
Wow, that's
Errol,
pretty
Lana?
incredible. Nikki, thank you very much.
Yeah, but none of them will they're all scared to talk. I mean, shit. All right, we're going to switch to another channel. I don't believe we've played them before, but this was a link that was sent to me. Good night, Kib Kitty. Thanks for hopping in. I did hear a carpet. To me, it sounded like a tractor. Or some kind of like diesel. Good night. Good night. Thanks for hopping in. I'm not sure if we played a video from here. This was a link from somebody that sent me. This is about Brian Koberger and how is he going to fight the charges, and this is an attorney analysis. It is from 2 weeks ago, but I am getting to it, and I'm sure it's still relevant. Good night, Kip Kitty.
We've had the opportunity now to see Brian Kohberger in court, and we've obviously seen the probable cause affidavit that gives us at least the bare bones of the state's case against him. So I know a lot of people are wondering, how is he going to defend himself? Well, we're going to talk about it. There are two broad categories of defenses in criminal cases. You have affirmative defenses. These are things that the defense will have the burden of proof to establish to the jury. And then there is general denial, which is essentially arguing that the state's evidence is not going to establish guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. So we're going to start by looking at some of the affirmative defenses, and we're going to evaluate whether we're likely to see any of those. Probably the first affirmative defense that comes to people's mind with a case of this nature is insanity. As has been broadly reported, Idaho does not have a conventional insanity defense. Conventional insanity is defined as being unable to tell the difference between right and wrong. This is a fairly old common law formulation of insanity that many, if not most, states still follow. But Idaho has specifically abolished that type of insanity defense. There's also other ways that, depending on your state's law, insanity can be defined. Sometimes insanity can be defined in volitional terms. This is sometimes described as having an irresistible compulsion or something along those lines, which is basically saying that the defendant's will is so controlled by his mental state that he's unable to resist the impulse to commit the crime. Idaho is not going to recognize that. Another one that sometimes comes of it in my state is what's called the deific decree. You believe that God ordered you to do it. That probably going to be full defense in Idaho. So what Idaho does have is what's colloquially referred to as a diminished capacity defense. So what this defense is basically saying you can use proof of your mental state, potential mental illness, things like that, to show that you were unable to form the required mental state to commit the crime. So in a particular case, the crime is murder, specific can kill another human being. So an insanity defense, shorthand, that would meet the requirements of the Idaho law in this case is pretty limited. It's going to tend to involve defenses of a cognitive nature. I did not understand what I was doing. I didn't intend to kill this person. I thought I was picking flowers. So it's really narrowing in on that psychosis type of insanity rather than things that might have a little bit more to do with emotional volatility, impulse control, and stuff like that. So although technically this limited mental health defense is available to him in Idaho, I personally don't think we're going to see that. And I'll tell you why.
Well, yeah.
I just don't impression we have seen that Mr. Kohberger has any interest in being seen as a crazed lunatic murderer. We got the statement from his public defender in Pennsylvania back on December 31st, where he said specifically, Mr. Kohberger is eager to be exonerated of these charges. To me, as an attorney, seeing that word exoneration coming from another attorney, this is really, really strong language. This just suggests to me that he does not want to get off on some kind of technical, yeah, you did it, but we're not going to hold you responsible because XYZ. He is, I believe, going for factual innocence, and that this particular state, I think, could be telling us. The other reason why I don't don't think we've had the opportunity to observe him now. We've had reports from the proceeding in Pennsylvania. We were able to view the proceeding in Latah County. So we've seen that he's not presenting, the kinds of behavioral problems you might expect from like a Darrell Brooks or, somebody who is floridly psychotic. He seems to understand what's going on. He seems to be able to engage with the other participants in the courtroom. He seems to be able to control his behavior, and so far, at least, appears to be cooperating with his attorney. So these things really call into question whether there is anything really viable to work with there anyway. That may seem ironic, just given the nature of the crimes here. You kind of have to assume if he did it, there's got to be something wrong with him that would lead him to do something like that. And that may very well be the case. It's just that it wouldn't be the type of thing that would lend itself to the limited definition of
right,
health defense in the state of Idaho.
I think you might have
the
SRB.
final reason I don't
I
think
know
it's
somebody
likely
sent me her
is
link.
just based on the information that we've gotten about him from people who have known him over the course of his life. Now, I take a lot of this information with a grain of salt. It's difficult to find something like that to be reliable because it's normal that when you receive some new information about somebody, such as that they have been charged with 4 counts of potentially capital murder, that kind of anchors your perspective on that person in a way that's potentially going to distort your hindsight view. So it's difficult to sort of noise of what is cherry picking things from the past that are consistent with this updated potential worldview of Mr. Kohberger and what is objective, dispassionate, full and fair recounting of who he is and what his life was like growing up. So with that disclaimer, the information in particular is this description of him as kind of wanting to be seen as the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any question that he is very intelligent. He's obviously educated. He's in a PhD program. It doesn't necessarily mean he's smart at anything and everything he does, but he does have that basic cognitive ability that, frankly, seems to be potentially important to him and in how other people see him. So because Idaho is going to require him to basically disavow that, his cognitive capacity would have to be called into question significantly in order to meet their standards for the defense. I just don't think he's going to want to do that. I don't think that's consistent with who he is or how he wants to be seen by the world at large. And so for that reason, I don't think he's going to go down this road. Another affirmative defense that we could see is an alibi defense. If you have evidence that you were somewhere else at the time of the crime, so you could not possibly have committed it, that's pretty good evidence of your innocence. We have no idea, of course, at this point, whether there is anything he could rely on to establish an alibi, but it is something that I would put out there just because we don't know anything about his version of events at this point in time. So I wouldn't rule that out as something we could see. If he does intend to file to pursue an alibi defense, we're going to know about it pretty soon because the rules require him to file a notice of his intent to rely on an alibi defense within 10 days of his preliminary hearing. So that's coming right up. There is some wiggle room in the rule that allows the judge to basically extend the time for him to be able to do that if there's good cause to do it. But the presumption would be, generally you're gonna find accused if you're else, date and time that these crimes were committed. So you're at least going to give notice of the fact that you intend to prove that. So it's possible Don't know if we'll see it or not, but I suspect if we do, we'll have that information fairly quickly. There are several other affirmative defenses, but under the facts of this case, unlike to me, self-defense, that's going to be a pretty tough sell. Duress, necessity, these defenses that are kind of based around I had to do it, those look pretty unlikely to me as well.
Right.
They may even be legally unavailable. Lots of states won't allow you to use defenses to emerge because they're predicated on the idea that you had to commit the crime in order to avoid a worse harm, but there isn't really a worse harm than a murder. So it's sort of under law because whatever you were threatened with was not as bad as what you ended up doing. So because of that, I don't think affirmative defenses are likely, and that leaves us with the general denial. And so, as I've said, the general denial is basically just relying on finding ways to argue that the state's evidence does not dispel all of the reasonable doubts in the case. And so in a case of this nature, based on what we've seen from the probable cause affidavit,
is a pretty good video.
we have to anticipate that is going to be a highly technical defense because the overwhelming majority of the evidence that we've seen so far is forensic in nature. It's the cell site location information, the pings to his cell phone. It's the DNA evidence. It's the videos that that they were able to recover. So that, in my view, is where the focus is going to be. Now, with the understanding that this investigation in many ways has only just begun. The probable cause affidavit told us what police knew up to the point that they arrested Mr. Kohberger. But I can assure you there is a massive flurry of investigation that is occurring, that already occurred at the time of his arrest and is going to be ongoing. His DNA is going to be taken. His car is going to be gone over with a fine-tooth comb. His devices, if his phone is still in his possession, that is going to be seized and extracted. His computer from every apartment is going to be gone over. So there is still a lot here.
What the fuck?
For the state to potentially go through than just what we have in the probable cause affidavit. But having said that, given what we do have and knowing what we do know about the state's case, what I'm going to do in the next couple videos is look at some of those specific issues and how the defense might be inclined to look at those, how they might evaluate them, investigate them, and try to see if there are weaknesses that would support an argument that the information isn't sufficiently reliable for you to be able to point the finger at Mr. Kohberger beyond a reasonable doubt. So,
and I do have another video from her, but we'll check it out on the next show, Sunday, if I don't get on tomorrow. If I do get on, it'll just be out of the blue, because I do plan on doing some work to the channel and different things. But she does have a video about the cell phone pings and how strong, in her opinion, they'll be when it comes to this case. So we'll check out that video next show. I am going to switch to another one. We do enjoy some Michelle After Dark videos on here from time to time. So I'm going to go ahead and share one of her videos, and then I'll be ending the show for the evening. We might get into one more. I'm going to go through my folder again real quick, just kind of swoop through it all, see if there's anything I do want to check out. But so I'm going to show a video here, and this is Kohberger and a Delphi kind of reference with the Murdaugh trial. It's got all three, so I thought this might be kind of interesting to check out.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video.
I always
It's
get
Wednesday morning, and it's very foggy this morning. It's my
I always get distracted by these videos. All right. Let me throw the closed captioning on.
child, but it's very foggy. So yeah, the footage isn't the best. And
Wow,
actually,
it
I've
is
only got
foggy
a little
there.
bit of dog footage this morning because I don't know what happened. One of my files corrupted. It won't share. It won't do anything. So whatever. But I don't need much dog footage other than you
Oh,
guys
that
who
sucks,
like it,
Cassie.
because I've
Good night,
got some
everybody.
things to read. We've got some things to go through, and we are covering three cases
Well, I'm not hopping
this
off yet.
morning. Firstly, and yeah, I'm like a dog with a bone with this, but I want to talk again just a little bit about Brian Koberger, and did he get that research assistant post that he referred to in the email of April 12th, 22, when Brian Koberger emailed Pullman PD Chief of Police. An eagle-eyed commenter pointed this out, so we're going to get into that. Oh, and before I forget, yes, I did get the date wrong on that incident report when Kaylee Gonzalez rang in to report potentially seeing a missing person. I said it was May 2021, but yeah, you're all right. The 3 million of you who commented to me yesterday saying, actually, Michelle, it was October 2021 because in the US, you do month, day, year. Here in the UK, we do day, month, year. And usually my little brain can work that out for you guys in America. So actually, Kaylee Gonzalez, we know she was living at 1122 King Road in October 2021, not May 2021. So yeah, you were right. I was wrong. It doesn't make any difference though. It just means she was living there over a year before the murders. So we've got that in writing. Secondly, I want to talk about the Delphi case because something came up in the Alec Murdoch trial yesterday that made me think about Delphi. So I want to talk about that. And I did say yesterday, I'm going to watch the Alec Murdoch trial and be a viewer, not a creator. But I'm going to get drawn into this, guys. I really am. It's looking like an absolute doozy. We're only on day 2. The trial hasn't started proper. This was pre-trial motions, and it was incredibly interesting. It's going to be a doozy. I'm going to get drawn into it. I just know I am. Anyway, without further ado, Koberger and this research assistant shit. This is Washington University's website, and this is the CSI Crime Lab. So CSI in this instance doesn't stand for Crime Scene Investigation. The acronym, they've used it cleverly, but it's the Complex Social Interactions Lab. So for those of you who were saying, well, Brian Koberger couldn't have got the job because crime scene investigation is not a forensic scientist. But yeah, this wasn't a forensic science lab. This is to do with social interaction. So they're using body cam footage, some of it live feeds to analyze. And if we look at the research team, Dr. David Makin, talked about him in a previous video. He's the director and the co-founder of the CSI lab. And his publications, his expertise is in relation to things like body cams. So it's about the social interactions that police make. That's one of the purposes of the CSI lab. But if you just scroll down to the bottom here, this is the team that works on the CSI lab. And we mentioned this person, Megan Parks, yesterday, who is a senior project manager for one of the grant projects that's going on out of that lab. She was already in post when these research assistants were appointed. And we've got here 2 women, Christina Richardson and Brittany Solenston. They are lab managers, research assistants, and public safety research fellows. Weird way of wording things in Washington State, I've got to say. In every university I've ever had contact with, and a research assistant are different things. So research fellows generally are more senior than research assistants. But I'm wondering whether there's two kind of things going on here, that they're research fellows in public safety, but they're also research assistants in relation to the lab. Anyway, these are two females, and unless Brian Kohlberger used to be on there and they've taken it down, then it does appear that he didn't get the job, because there was 4 candidates that the New York Times talked about, and then there was 2 posts. So I think one to cover Pullman and one to cover Pasco. These 2 ladies here are on the website. Now, obviously I'm looking at this website today, 25th of January. I don't know what that was like on the day Kohlberger was arrested. Well, I'm going to assume that he didn't get the job because there's 2 research assistants in post here. If he had got the job though, how alarming would that have been? Because he would have been a lab manager. But if you look at the Washington State University and kind of really dig into it, you'll see that undergraduates also work in the lab. They do like coding and things like that. So I think Brian, as a teaching assistant and a PhD student, would have had access to this lab. Now, whether he would have had access to the live feeds is another matter, but I'm like a dog with a bone with this, because there's a reason why he took this position. Now, it might be that Washington State University has got a really good reputation in criminal justice and criminology, and that's why he took the position here. But there's no way in my mind that his studies made him become a murderer. I've literally over the last 20 odd years taught into probably the tens of thousands of psychology undergraduates and postgraduates, and none of them, to my knowledge, has gone on to commit a quadruple homicide or even any homicide. As far as I know, some of my students I had 20 years ago,
Wow.
I have no idea what they went
She
on
was
to
a teacher?
become. But it's not the subject matter. Let's just get this clear. It's not the subject matter that's the problem. It's that Brian chose this subject for a reason. And I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that his interest in criminal justice, policing, isn't the same motivations as almost everybody else who wants to go into that line of work. I firmly believe that unless something really, really major comes along to change my mind, I'm going to carry on believing that. So I think I'm going to put this to bed, that Brian Kohlberger didn't get a search assistant's job. Now, the internship that Pullman PD and Washington State University collaborate on is something different. I'm quite sure about that now. So the research assistant post and the internship post that the PCA said he went for, I think those are 2 different entities, 2 different jobs. I don't know still whether he got the internship or not. If he got the internship, then he would have been doing ride-alongs around the Pullman area. Does that fuel him in any way? I don't know. I don't think I'm going to get any firmer answers than this. So I think I'm kind of going to put this to bed, at least for the time being. But let me know what you think about all of that in the comments. All right, so I want to move on to the Delphi case. So yesterday was day 2 of the trial. They were still in the jury selection phase, but in the afternoon, I think a lot of people had tuned out, but it was really interesting. One of the things they discussed was the ballistics evidence. The prosecution was required to bring an expert in to talk about the cartridge casing found at the murder scene. So I'm going to play you what he said in a moment that relates to the Delphi case. But in the Murdoch trial, the issue is that markers 2 to 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is Maggie, who was shot a number of times. And then this was Paul, Alec's son, who literally, not figuratively, literally had his brains blown out. This 60-odd page set of information from the defense is incredibly graphic in some ways. It talks about the injuries that Maggie and Paul had, but not getting into that, literally focusing on this issue because it relates to the Delphi case, which I've been covering on this channel. So the conversation was about these cartridge cases that were found at the scene. It reminded me of something in the arrest affidavit for Richard Allen, something that we have discussed on this channel previously. Play the clip now. I'll be back in a minute.
One firearm in a previous time, can you do it without firing the bullet? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. The cycling marks sometimes could occur just from cycling through the firearm. For instance, if you were to load a cartridge into a magazine or cartridge into a magazine, load that magazine into a firearm and chamber that unfired cartridge into the chamber of the gun so it's in battery, ready to fire. If you decide not to fire that weapon, you may, in this case, it was a rifle, pull back on that bolt handle. In that case, in that instance, the unfired cartridge would be extracted from the chamber of that gun and ejected. There can be marks left on an unfired cartridge due to that process without having firing the cartridge.
Okay, so that was a ballistic expert. He clearly said there that markings that he could analyze forensically under a microscope, unspent rounds, can be ejected. And my mind straight away went to this in the PCA of Richard Allen. So between October 14th, 2022 and October 19th, 2022, the Indiana State Police Laboratory performed an analysis on Allen's gun. The laboratory performed a physical examination and classification of the firearm, function test, barrel and overall length measurement, test firing, ammunition characteristics, microscopic comparisons. The laboratory determined the unspent round located within 2 feet of victim's body had been cycled through Richard M. Allen's gun. The laboratory remarked, an identification opinion is reached when the evidence
they said that wasn't going to be that
an
strong.
agreement of class characteristics and a sufficient agreement of individual marks. Sufficient agreement is related to the significant duplication of random striated marks as evidenced by the correspondence of a pattern or combination of patterns of surface contours. The interpretation of identification is subjective in nature and based on relevant scientific research and the reporting examiner's training and experience. So that's exactly the discussion that was had yesterday afternoon with the ballistics expert in the Alec Murdoch trial. So I'm going to be watching this very closely because when they get to the trial proper and present that evidence, then I think we're going to learn a lot about ballistics and how that evidence can be presented and how the defense will maybe bring their own experts in to counter this issue. The issue in the Murdoch murders was that some of the cartridge casings, so markers 2 to 7, the striations and the marks matched some other cartridge cases found in other parts of the Murdoch property. They had their own shooting range, for heaven's sake. You know, rich and privileged doesn't even cover
ice
it. But,
cream.
yeah, so they were arguing that these cartridge casings possibly came from a gun that was no longer in the possession of the Murdochs because allegedly it had been stolen. So, yeah, I'm so going to get drawn into this case, guys. I'm going to end up with a Murdoch trial playlist. I can see it coming. I just get engrossed in a case, honestly. So, yeah. Make of all that what you will, but it is going to be really interesting. And I think that discussion, as I said, is going to be very relevant to Richard Allen's trial as well. So I'm going to leave it there for today. That's the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts and comments below. As always, please like and share the video.
It is an interesting case. I wasn't even gonna like start covering it, but man, you watch that show we did Monday and all the stuff involved in it, and I have so much more. I mean, geez, I do plan on doing a Anna Walsh night coming up next week. It might even be Sunday, but I know I'm gonna have one coming up maybe Sunday or the beginning of next week. But I'm going to go ahead and end the show for the evening. Might get on Twitch for a little bit, do some gaming or something. But going to be doing some work on the channel tomorrow and stuff. So if I do hop on, it's probably just going to be last minute if I do. But I hope you all have a peaceful and positive evening. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your brains too, all the conversation and everything. Definitely going to be going through all my folders, kind of cleaning everything up, doing a lot of organizing and all that. So definitely need to look for some documents. I need to get that request from Koberger's lawyer. Also, I thought it had something to, yeah, the a co-defendant in there too. I think I got it in an email before, so I apologize if I got it before, but if you can send it to me again, if I did get it sent to me, if you can send it to me again, I'd appreciate it, and I'll make sure I save it. I think I might actually have it in one of my folders. I'll double check it and make sure, but just want to thank you all for hanging out. I appreciate you. I hope you all have a good evening, and yeah, I might be hopping on Twitch. We'll see. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I appreciate you. And I'll see you on the next show.